SL News Radio, I'm Tim Hughes. Let's look at some of our top stories, and of course it begins with the weather. The snow is coming down in the Cottonwoods. We're expecting to see more valley rain and mountain snow this morning before we get a break this afternoon.
Not seeing much of any rain threat through the rest of the afternoon. Wouldn't doubt it if we get a shower here or there, but it's not going to be very widespread.
National Weather Service meteorologist Sam Weber says rain and mountain snow is expected to pick back up tonight, but Weber says he thinks it'll all be done before the morning commute tomorrow. Look for about 4 to 8 inches in the mountains and upwards of 1/4 of an inch of rain in some spots in the valleys. Utah State University is partnering with the Loveland Living Planet Aquarium to launch the state's first marine biology program. An associate professor at the university tells the Salt Lake Tribune it will bring the ocean to Utah in a unique way that will shape a new generation of marine biologists. Now our top national story from ABC News. Longtime Donald Trump ally Steve Bannon has been released from prison after serving a 4-month sentence for defying a subpoena in the congressional investigation into the U.S. Capitol attack on January 6, 2021. He plans to hold a news conference later in the day in Manhattan. He's also expected to resume his podcast today. All right, your money at this moment. The markets are up, but barely. The Dow less than a point. The S&P is up 8, and the Nasdaq this hour is up almost 70 points. Coming up, we'll get the latest on this forecast. I can tell you that there's rain in every day, at least a slight chance for the next 7. KSL News Time, 9:02.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the 9s, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
He's coming. Here he goes. Surprise! Your table saw broke. Also, the warranty expired weeks ago, so you need to pay for a new one out of pocket.
At Progressive, we know small business owners don't usually like surprises because they cost you money. But a good surprise that could save you money? Getting a commercial auto quote from Progressive.
Oh, and the replacement part you ordered doesn't fit, so it's completely useless. What a waste.
Surprise yourself. See if you can save in as little as 7 minutes at ProgressiveCommercial.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Oh no, stomach issues again?
Stomach issues?
Who are you?
Your pancreas. I could be the real reason for your diarrhea, gas, bloating, stomach pain, or loose oily stools.
I thought it was my stomach.
People often do, but any of these symptoms could mean having a condition called exocrine pancreatic insufficiency, or EPI. With EPI, the pancreas doesn't release enough enzymes to break down food, but EPI is manageable. Use the symptom checker on identifyepi.com and speak with your doctor. That's identifyepi.com. Sponsored by AbbVie.
I finally decided a few months ago that enough was enough with the high electrical bills in the summer and the high heating bills in the winter, and it was time to replace our builder-grade windows of our 20-year-old home with the latest and greatest windows from Advanced Window Products. Ever since Jake and Nate showed me a demonstration of what a difference the right kind of window can have on my home's energy use, I couldn't get it off my mind. So my wife and I decided it was time. And man, am I glad we did. From the moment Ken showed up to give us a free in-home estimate, we've had such an outstanding experience through the entire process. Within an hour, we had financing set up, and then about 8 weeks later, the crew showed up and did what we thought was going to be a 2-day installation in a single day. Now our home is more comfortable. Our electrical bills have started to drop. We qualified for energy tax credits to help pay for the windows, and we even took advantage of their expertise and replaced our sliding glass deck door with one that has a pet door built in. Look, I know you don't make a decision like this on a whim. You do your research. So do that. But make sure you call Advanced Window Products at 801-850-9100, and you can get a special deal of $3,000 off 10 windows or more if you mention Andy when you make the appointment. 801-850-9100 or go to advancedwindows.com.
For over 133 years, Central Bank has been a cornerstone of Utah County, providing generations of families and businesses with trusted community banking services, and are more than just a bank. Central Bank is part of Utah's legacy. With 12 convenient locations across Utah County, Central Bank combines the strength of traditional customer service with the convenience of modern technology. Customized one-to-one service means you're never just another account number, and your phone call actually rings to a real person.
Hi there, thanks for calling Central Bank.
Voted best bank and best mortgage in Utah Valley, Central Bank is here to help you with all your financial needs. From top SBA lending services for small businesses and quick turnaround times on construction loans. They're dedicated to helping you build your future. Whether you're cheering for the Cougars or building your dream home, trust the bank that's been here since the beginning. Central Bank, strong, local, secure since 1891. Online at cbutah.com or any of 12 Utah County locations. Central Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Still wet out there, Heather?
It certainly is, and we still have crashes that are being cleaned up. The worst one is southbound I-15 in North Salt Lake. At least 10 to 15 vehicles were involved in this one. They've mostly been moved over to the right shoulder. But just past that crash, all traffic was stopped for a few minutes. I think there was another crash that happened, again, right near Beck Street. And so traffic is backed up again into Woods Cross and Bountiful. It's taking longer than it should this time of the day to get from Davis County into downtown Salt Lake. Still have plenty of slowdowns in Utah County trying to get northbound 15 from Lehigh into the Salt Lake Valley, as well as I-80 through Parley's Canyon due to snow. Step into the magic of Christmases past. Whether decorating for a grand Christmas celebration or adding a few special touches, visit the J&J Garden Center in Layton. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Rest of the day is going to be stormy and cold, highs to reach the mid-50s, although Matt was saying earlier that most of this precipitation from this first wave of this storm will be done by noon today. We'll look for a high of 47. Right now, 41 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
I've been thinking all morning long as I listen to the news unfold about the ballot boxes that appear to have been tampered with, an incendiary device, fires in two other states, of course, not in Utah, just to be clear. Dave, thankfully, no election workers were injured. When one of them went off, when the fires were happening, can't even imagine the kind of damage that could have done to somebody had they approached that box to take those ballots out.
Yes, it was an incredible sight to see. We'll describe it a little bit more in detail as we talk about this, but it really was fire and smoke pouring out of the ballot box, incredibly dangerous, and then obviously extremely destructive. It's 9:08. It's time for the launch.
Sequence engaged.
And here are 3 things that Debbie wants you to know.
Countdown. 3.
9:35, we're going to go right on the money. New report shows that more families earning over $150K a year are living paycheck to paycheck. Now, immediately, so many of you will think, well, yeah, that's just because of inflation, Deb. It's inflation. Yeah, you point to inflation, you point to D.C., but I think a good look in the mirror and a tough, honest review of the family budget would rein in the frivolous spending. You know you do it. You just don't address it. You buy stuff you don't need. You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! You get a car! Yeah, just because you're earning $150K a year doesn't mean you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car.
I just did a quick calculation, and I looked at what a lease of a new car would be. So a $50,000 car, I figured that's the average of a new car. If you were to lease that for 3 years, this is what your monthly payment is. $937.
Ooh.
Now, what if you and your wife have a new car? Then you're $1,900 in just the car payment. That doesn't count for the gas, the maintenance, or heaven forbid we actually have insurance on that car. So it can be extremely expensive. So when you say $150,000 a year is living paycheck to paycheck, I'm with you, Deb. You got to look in the mirror.
Countdown. 2.
Election season, turns out, can also be deep fake season. Deep fake season. There's a new study out by Utah Valley University. We're going to go in depth on this in the 10 o'clock hour. It shows more than half of Americans who scroll upon a deep fake video on their social media feed. Those deep fakes generated by artificial intelligence, they're really fooling y'all. They're fooling a lot of us. Half of Americans don't realize they're watching a fake video. They think it's actually the real deal. In fact, they double down. Oh, this is the real video. Our expert at 10:05 who's calling the show on this new study will warn us what to look out for.
A lot of the studies that are showing that they're not actually coming after and making a deep fake of Kamala Harris or President Trump. They'll make a deep fake of a fake local reporter reporting news, because those oftentimes people don't know who the names of every reporter in their local news stations are or their local newspapers.
It is tricky. And I will tell you my most recent experience at the Butler, Pennsylvania rally where President Trump was shot. My initial reaction, Debbie, is I thought it was a deep fake. I thought there's no way this actually happened. This is doctored video that comes across, and I went through several sources before I felt comfortable tweeting about it. But sure enough, that was my default. I want to know, are there indications, are there things that we can look for to figure out whether or not something truly is authentic or if it is a deep fake?
Launch countdown 1.
So ballots ablaze. There have been crimes committed against my count initially I was hearing 2 ballot boxes, now 3 ballot boxes in Oregon and Washington, the state of Washington, now under investigation by federal authorities. And people in those areas taking steps to make sure they cast their votes in person. I just want to also double down myself on, election officials. Had you gone to the ballot box to pick those ballots up, like officially tote them back to the clerk's office, I can't even imagine what would have happened had something blown. Thankfully, you hate to say thankfully it was just the ballots that caught fire, but I'm just thinking about all of the damage that this could have caused to a human who's just doing their job.
There may be a lot of people that don't even know their ballots won't be counted, and that concerns me.
So what's next? If your ballot is destroyed, and again, this is not something that has happened here in Utah, but what do we have in place here in Utah in case something does happen and you want to make sure that your ballot gets counted?
Dave and Dujanovic.
The launch.
Commence.
I want to listen to the fire call that went out explaining that there was a problem with at least one of the ballot boxes.
Engine 21 respond to investigate an unknown flammable object being put inside of a drop box.
And now federal investigators trying to figure out who's responsible for these fires and the tampering with these ballot boxes.
And we have dozens of these ballot boxes around our state. And these ones that were set ablaze are very similar. They don't look like ours. They're boxy. They're sitting out alongside the road. And it looks like the vehicle, and they have some surveillance video of this, the vehicle pulls up alongside of it, just kind of on the side of the road, and drops something in.
Let's get more from ABC's Lionel Moise. I want to be clear that these are fires and incidents that happened in the state of Washington and also in Oregon, in the Portland area. But let's get an update on the latest from ABC News.
Concern about ballot security with drop boxes set on fire in the Northwest. Officers in Vancouver, Washington, pulling out ballots still burning. Officials say hundreds were lost. And in nearby Portland, another fire.
Engine 21 respond to investigate an unknown flammable object being put inside of a drop box.
Officials credit fire suppressant in that box for saving 409 ballots. Only 3 were damaged.
Number one, I had no idea there was fire suppressant in these ballot boxes. Let's learn more about that and find out if we have something similar here in Utah, if we have fire suppressant in the drop boxes. But it was quite the sight to watch them open up this smoking ballot box with fire and flames, and you could see them shoveling out these burning ballot boxes. It was quite the sight.
Straight ahead, we are going to get the Salt Lake County Clerk, Lanny Chapman, on the phone live to talk to us about that fire suppression angle and other security measures that are in place across Utah to keep our ballots safe. She's on the line straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
Okay, it's confession time. Conference weekend, cinnamon rolls, and my birthday week got me out of some of the good habits I created with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, and I gained back a few of the 70 pounds I let go of earlier this year. But this is where Soda's true value really kicks in. It was just a quick call to my nutritionist, Kristen. We've got a plan back in place. I'll have this off within a couple of weeks and be right back to where I wanted to be again. Because with Soda, there's no drugs, no pills, no injections, and when you stop taking those quick solutions, medications, most people discover the weight just comes right back. Soda has real science, real results, and a proven method to melt that visceral fat and to keep it off for good. It's simple. Just go to sotaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. And while you're there, click the button, request a nutritionist callback, and within minutes, you'll be on the phone with somebody who's ready to help you change your life for the better. Because Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
What's much less frightening than...
We traced the call. It's coming from inside the house. It's coming from inside the house.
Why, KSL's election analysis, of course. This week, get full coverage of Your Voice, Your Vote 2024. And happy Halloween from KSL News Radio.
Want to avoid getting sick this fall? Getting your immunizations is a classic approach. You can protect yourself against the flu, RSV, pneumonia, and COVID. Does that sound like music to your ears? Then talk to a doctor or healthcare provider. And visit uptodate.utah.gov to learn more.
You get so much for free packed into our free text alerts here at KSL News Radio. You get your news updates, you get traffic and weather, so if there's something going on the roads, you will be one of the first to know when we send you a text alert. All you have to do to sign up for these free text alerts here through KSL News Radio is text us the word news. Text the word news to 57500. Again, news to 57500.
You need to meet my aunt. Her name is Rochelle Morris, and she's running for Salt Lake County Council. She's super smart, and she really cares about people. She wants Salt Lake County to be a great place for kids. That means safe parks, safe streets, good rec centers, and making sure taxes go down instead of up. Go to voterochellemorris.com to learn more.
Thanks, Zoe and Tilly. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I'm running to make Salt Lake County work better for all of us. With my background in managing money in the private sector, I'm committed to cutting waste, holding the county accountable, and maximizing and protecting your tax dollars for you. Together, we can ensure Salt Lake County is a great place to live for many years to come. I'm Rochelle Morris, and I approve this message. Learn more at voterochellemorris.com.
That's voterochellemorris.com.
Paid for by Rochelle Morris for Salt Lake County Council. Jazz games are better together. Host an unforgettable night at Delta Center with colleagues, friends, families, whoever. Group tickets are the best way to get everyone together to cheer on the Jazz. Pick from a variety of options for seating, dining, and game day experiences. Start planning your big night at the game by calling 801-355-DUNK, emailing group sales at utahjazz.com, or simply visiting utahjazz.com.
Hey, this is Dan, the laptop man from PC Laptops. Myth. You might have heard that you need to spend a fortune these days to get a powerful computer. Correction. At PC Laptops, we wanted to prove that wrong. So here's the most amazing deal that we've ever done at PC Laptops for you in over 30 years. The new 2025 S1 desktop or SM3 laptop for only $999. You heard that right, $999. You get a blazing fast processor, 16 gigs of RAM, and over a terabyte of blazing storage for $999. What else do you get? Lifetime service warranty, and we have 12 months special financing on approved credit. Take one home today. Hurry in right now because supplies are limited because at PC Laptops, we love you. Just check us out at PCLaptops.com. $9.99, PCLaptops.com.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, snow is sticking to the sides of the road in Cottonwood. Roads are still just wet here in the valleys. Second, U.S. job openings tumbled last month to their lowest level since January of 2021, a sign that the labor market is losing some momentum. And third, there are more indications that Russia's relationship with North Korea is strengthening as North Korean troops mobilize, aiding Russian troops in the war with Ukraine. We're going to look for a high today of 47 degrees, struggling to get there, raining and 41 now in Salt Lake City. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Well, investigations are underway in Portland and in Vancouver, Washington, to find out who was going after ballot boxes. You know, hundreds of ballots burned, incendiary device allegedly planted, and voters in at least one county telling K2, a television station there, KATU, that they are now voting in person just to make sure that they don't have to drop off their ballot in a curbside ballot box.
There may be a lot of people that don't even know their ballots won't be counted.
It was an incredible sight to see. As you could see, the video was very clear. The smoke is pouring out of the ballot box, and then you see it being opened up, and a shovel is being used to scrape out these ballots that are just burning. It was quite the sight. And obviously, once they are burned and destroyed, you have no way of contacting anyone. You have no way of reaching out individually. You just have to say collectively, hey, if you dropped it off at this ballot box during this time, then there's a possibility that this has been destroyed.
Let's bring this story home to the Salt Lake County Clerk's office, where Lanny Chapman is joining us live, the Salt Lake County Clerk here. And Lanny, where my mind goes, of course, I'm very glad that election workers weren't injured, hurt, picking up these ballots. Because I think that's kind of part of the story that hasn't. Of course, we're concerned about the ballots, but I'm thinking about innocent employees just going to do their job, making the rounds to pick up these ballots on Monday morning, which they hadn't done yet, and all of the injuries that could have happened to them.
I'm totally with you. I think it's been said nationally, and I'll say it here. This is a direct attack on our democracy. This is trying to dissuade people from having their voices heard in their local community, and that is not what we stand for. We're lucky here in the state of Utah, and specifically in Salt Lake County. We have surveillance cameras on every single drop box we have. Every single drop box. I have law enforcement that picks up from our drop boxes. Due to the nature of this election, I'm picking up every single day. That includes Sunday. And furthermore, I have fire suppressant mechanisms inside the drop box. On top of the fact that the drop boxes that we currently have such a small slit, it's large enough to fit a ballot, maybe two ballots. So whatever type of device, it would be very hard to fit a device in there.
Have we ever had any kind of destruction or vandalism of a drop box before?
We haven't. The most damage that we've seen to our drop boxes, frankly, it's caused by snowplows.
Oh, really? The snowplows, they I guess just collateral damage as they're scraping the snow off the roads?
Absolutely, and it happens, but we're able to fix the boxes, get them back out. We're very lucky here. We've been very thoughtful in where we're putting our drop boxes. They're in very well-lit, well-populated areas, so it would be that much harder for somebody to do an attack like this. On top of the fact that I have good contacts and I'm in constant contact with local law enforcement throughout Salt Lake County, making sure that the chiefs of police and our sheriff's office is well aware of where those drop boxes and vote centers are located, and ask them to do more routine drive-throughs and drive-arounds.
Okay, so they're also patrolling the areas in addition to picking up the ballots on a daily basis, Lanny?
Absolutely.
If ballots do get destroyed, what happens next?
Well, we'd have a couple ways. We would be able to tell if somebody was able to, if we didn't receive somebody's ballot. We're lucky here as opposed to somewhere like Washington or Oregon, where we are primarily a vote-by-mail state. However, voters still have opportunities to conveniently vote in person. If somebody felt like their ballot was part of a damaged group, if unfortunately this hypothetical happened here, they would still be able to cast their ballot in person. Additionally, we have some mechanisms in our law and the statute for emergency purposes that could be deployed.
So if they suspected that something happened along the way, and again, this is just a hypothetical because these incidents have not happened here. We're talking about incidents in Portland and Vancouver. Also reading about an incident involving, it appears, a mailbox in Phoenix that may have damaged some ballots as well. You have a way to make sure that their vote is not accidentally counted twice?
We do. Our system is very smart, and we only allow people to vote once. So if somebody did try to vote in person and then vote their by-mail ballot, it would kick out that second attempt.
How long should we expect our ballots to get processed? I signed up for text messages myself, but if I drop something off, how long should I wait to start getting text messages of whether or not my ballot has been processed?
Sure. So it depends on what day you drop it off. It could be, if you drop it off on a Monday, you should start getting notification by Tuesday. We are working diligently. My team is working 11-hour days to make sure that we are processing all of the 600,000+ active registered voters in Salt Lake County, and making sure that their voices are heard safely, securely, accurately, and efficiently.
Lanny Chapman, Salt Lake County Clerk, calling these attacks on ballot boxes in other states an attack on our democracy, and also sharing with us the precautions that are in place here in Utah to make sure that the same thing cannot occur here. Lanny, thank you so much for jumping on the line with us, talking about the fire suppression component that is inside the drop boxes here. There is word that in at least one case, it did stop a fire from spreading in one of the ballot drop boxes that's now under investigation in the cases in Portland and Vancouver, that a fire suppression mechanism stop that fire from spreading. And then mentioning that the slits here are very, very narrow. I always, of course, then worry, and believe I've read that one of the incendiary devices in one of the cases out of state was attached to the side of one of the ballot drop boxes. So again, with law enforcement picking up these ballots here in the state, at least in Salt Lake County, that is something else to be aware of, that it looked like it was attached to the side of one of the boxes.
I hadn't heard about the fire suppression systems in these ballot boxes before. This was brand new information. And to find out that we have something similar here in Utah, that's outstanding. That's great. But nevertheless, if, as you were describing that, if people are interested in destroying, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. There hasn't been any attacks that Lanny Chapman is aware of. She said most of the damage is on accident, and largely it happens when we have a snowstorm and the snowplows damage the ballot boxes in some way.
I signed up for Track My Ballot. I have been in the system for a couple of election cycles now. In the 11 o'clock hour, Lieutenant Governor's office calling the show to talk more in depth about this Track My Ballot option, which sends email notifications. It sends you text alerts first thing in the morning to let you know step by step where your ballot is at in the process and when your ballot has been counted. I'm just thinking, if you want to know what is happening to your ballot and making sure that it has gotten through the mail and it's gotten from the ballot box to the clerk's office, this is a very, very simple way to stay completely in the know on where your ballot's at. Going in depth on that in the 11 o'clock hour. Straight ahead, let's go right on the money. More families earning $150K a year or more are living paycheck to paycheck. I think maybe a good look in the mirror. Yeah. Let's pull out the mirror and take a look in it next to see what we're blowing all that money on.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Tim Hughes with a look at some of our top stories this hour. Utah Jazz suffered their third straight loss to start the season, but right now the team is really focused on Taylor Hendricks, who broke his leg in last night's game in Dallas. Players immediately looked away and got visibly emotional. Colin Sexton gathered the entire Jazz team on the floor to say a prayer. Jazz head coach Will Hardy said after the game,
I'm sure he's getting a lot of messages from family and loved ones, so we're going to do our best as a group to just continue to show him and his family some love and support during this.
The team says Hendricks broke his fibula and then dislocated his ankle. He left the game on a stretcher. SEG Plus, the streaming service that carries Utah Jazz and Utah Hockey Club games, is launching a multi-view option for when games are on at the same time. You can watch each game side by side. It comes after CEO Ryan Smith himself noticed how hard it is to switch between the games. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. More Americans are worried about the integrity of the vote on Election Day after ballots were lit on fire in 2 states.
86% of registered voters of both parties in the AP North Center poll believe the losing candidate in next week's presidential election is obligated to accept the result. But only 1 in 3 voters, Republicans and Democrats, think that Donald Trump will concede if he loses. 77% believe that Kamala Harris will concede if she loses.
ABC's Jim Ryan reporting. Your money at this moment, the markets are mixed. The Dow down about 52 points now, but the S&P is up 6.5. That's 0.1%. And the NASDAQ is up almost 80 points, a gain of 0.4. Coming up, we get a closer look at when this first round of storm activity will move out, but we're not done yet. KSL News Time, 9:32.
We hope you have the right app on your phone for news. You probably have dozens.
But the KSL News Radio app, well, it makes our live stream super easy.
Plus, our talk shows are right there as podcast for your workday.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
One of the things I love about a rainy day is sitting in front of a fireplace. Mm-hmm. And you know who's going to help me out with that? Mountain Home Services.
Yeah, Mountain Home Services and Master Electrical Service now working together, joining forces to give you all kinds of options to get things fixed in your home. Your electrical, those outlets need to be repaired, that ceiling lights that you've been wanting to put in. And now that they are a team, they're also installing gas fireplaces.
Yeah, because they are the heating and air experts, they do plumbing. This makes all the sense in the world to be able to install fireplaces. They can help you choose just the right one that gives you heat or ambiance, whatever you're looking for when it comes to fireplaces. Make sure you check out all of this from Mountain Home Services by going to their website, mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
And as always, it comes with that upfront pricing guarantee. So you can also give them a call, 801-543-2222. Again, 801-543-2222.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
Don't you deserve health care you can count on?
Well, you can count on United Healthcare. With Medicare plans that fit your life today and as your needs change tomorrow, you can enjoy reliable coverage and low out-of-pocket costs with a Medicare Advantage plan from United Healthcare. United Healthcare Medicare Advantage plans. Made for Utah, trusted everywhere. The Medicare annual enrollment period ends December 7th, so go to uhc.com/Medicare today.
We just want to have enough money for retirement.
And travel to visit our grandchildren.
I understand. That's why at Fisher Investments, we start by getting to know each other so I can learn about your family, lifestyle, goals, and needs, allowing us to tailor your portfolio.
What about commission-based products?
We don't sell those. We're a fiduciary, obligated to act in your best interest.
So how do your management fees work?
We have a simple management fee based on the value of your portfolio, so we do better when you do better.
We appreciate that kind of transparency.
We also check in with you regularly to keep you up to date on the markets and your portfolio.
What other services do you offer?
As a client, you have access to resources on investing, financial planning, estate planning, Social Security, Medicare, and more.
Wow, it sounds like Fisher Investments has everything we need.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Time for another look at traffic and weather together. Brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay App. Save up to 20 cents a gallon. Kind of dark and gloomy out there, Heather.
Yeah, it is a bit. A lot of the storms are still hanging around. Now, we don't have heavy rainfall like we did earlier in the commute. And most of our crashes have cleared, but we're still looking at one northbound I-15 in Provo, right as you come out of the S-curves from Provo into Orem. It's over on the left shoulder. We just had a crash on Redwood Road at 70th South that cleared 30 seconds ago, so now all the lanes are open in both directions of Redwood Road at 70th, and a crash is in the cleanup stages eastbound I-80 right at Redwood Road. That's over on the right shoulder. Transform your outdated kitchen with half-price granite. Granite, quartz, marble, and quartzite starting at $25 per square foot installed. Visit halfpricedgranite.com. Affordable luxury. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Well, the rest of the day is going to be stormy and cold. Highs will reach about 47 degrees for a high today, 49 tomorrow, and then we finally get to the upper 50s on Thursday. Good news there. It is Halloween, so the warmest day of the next 7 actually will be coming just in time for trick-or-treaters. Right now, raining in Salt Lake City and 41 degrees from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Tim Hughes. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com, Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
More families making over $150,000 a year are living paycheck to paycheck. That's the headline. We caught it on KSLTV.com. It's actually authored by a reporter at CNN. And we're going to talk about it right now. $150K a year and you're living paycheck to paycheck. What is going on?
This is my life. It doesn't matter how much money I make. I feel like I'm living paycheck to paycheck. When I was first starting out in the business and I got my first job, I was making $24,000 a year. I thought it was all the money in the world, living paycheck to paycheck. And then as it was growing, the family grows. It just feels like you're always stretching that as far as you can. Had you told me when I was 25 years old that I'd be making $150,000 and that I was living paycheck to paycheck, that would be such a shock to me. But a lot of families, apparently, that's exactly what's happening. They're making well into the six figures, and they're still having a hard time paying all the bills.
Can I tell you why?
Yes.
A lot of people are going to say, well, it's inflation, Deb, duh. No. It's because we have a terrible habit, and the habit is as simple as this. The more you earn, the more you spend.
Yes.
That's it.
So true.
That's it. The inflation, yeah, it's 20% more than what we were paying a few years ago for more items. But look, you have been doing this for decades. And I'll tell you, inflation was a problem in the 90s when we were starting our family, and we were much younger then as a couple and trying to figure out what our finances were going to look like. Inflation was a problem then. Is also a problem in 1990 for me when gas was $1 a gallon, and you laugh. You laugh at that, right? $1. I love it for it to be $1 a gallon again. Well, you do that on a $10,000 a year salary when your rent eats up $6,000 a year of that salary. That's exactly where I found myself at in 1990. $10,000 a year before taxes and $6,000 a year, $500 a month to put a roof over my head and to air condition the place. I didn't have to heat it much because I was living in Yuma, Arizona, where the average temperature there in the summer is the surface of the sun. So I think the issue is that the more we make, the more we spend. And it is much easier to point at Washington, D.C., or to feel sorry for ourselves and not really get down and dirty with the family budget and have those tough discussions at the kitchen table. And that's why we kick the can down the road. Sound familiar?
Absolutely. And can I agree with you and disagree with you a little bit on this? Because everything you said, I wholeheartedly agree with. We need to look ourselves in the mirror and do a real serious accounting of where we're spending our money. But I did run the inflation calculator. 20 years ago, $150,000, like that's the buying power right now, was $88,000. Mm-hmm. So it has essentially doubled in just the last 20 years. So I don't want to totally discount the inflation and how much that has just bitten us, not just over the last 4 or 5 years, but over the last 20 years. So I look at it and say, absolutely, inflation has smacked us in the mouth. Yeah. But this is where we are. And the only solution is to seriously look at our spending habits.
Yeah, and so has feeding our greed. That has smacked us right in the pocketbook, too. How many of us have sold really decent homes to raise our families in, to buy bigger, more expensive homes? How many of you have known that, I can get a few more years out of this car, but you trade it in and buy a new car, which now costs on average $734 a month, and you pick the new car over the used car, which would save you $200 a month in your payment, but you want to be seen in that shiny new car for whatever reason. Maybe it does have a warranty, but maybe that used car has a warranty that's gone with it, that stays with it. There is a lot of greed in this country, and consumption is feeding that greed. And I'll also say this, Dave. I think there's a lot of things that we do that we let slip by. For example, our bank is charging us $10 a month. We blow it off. Instead of going out there and looking for a new bank that won't charge us anything, because it's only $120 a year, and it's a lot easier to just keep the money there than it is to do that. Okay, then you don't cancel the subscription you never use. You sign up for that gym membership in 2 months, 3 months from now when you set your New Year's goals, and you never use that gym membership, but you're paying $50 a month because maybe one day you'll get to that Zumba class with me. We do this consistently, and the more we make, the more we allow this to happen. And it's because it is so difficult to have those conversations with your loved one about, where the money is going and restricting our spending. And in fact, if you spend $28 a day, just $28 a day, maybe that's on lunch and a coffee, maybe you give an extra money to your kids because they want to buy a candy bar. $28 a day. Do you know this adds up to $10,000 a year in spending? Now you have 2 people in a household spending $28 a day. And by the way, none of you are spending that. You're spending $58 a day and not tracking your spending. Now you're spending $20,000 a year. You're just blowing it. You don't even know what you spent it on. You went to lunch. You bought an $8 coffee. You decided you want a new $6 T-shirt because it's cheap, and a new baseball hat. $28 a day adds up to $10,000 a year, and that gets dismissed like you're not spending anything. The fact is, you're blowing your money.
And those are the nickel and dime items that doesn't even talk about the big ticket items of when you need to pay for new tires in your car, or maybe a radiator needs to be replaced. Like those are the things that shock the system, but we get nickel and dime to death by ourselves. For those very reasons. I think I remember, didn't you do like a no spend Tuesday, or you did that for a short time where you're like, I'm not spending any money this day?
Yeah, do a no spend November. Do things like stop taking your kids to the grocery store. Oh, that's horrible, Debbie. Why would you say that? There are children that we need them with us all the time. No, if you have a partner, your husband, spouse, wife, leave them with that person, because just taking your kids to the grocery store alone costs you more money. There was a survey done in 2023. You take your kids to the grocery store, you spend $179 on groceries. You don't take your kids to the grocery store, you spend $133 on groceries. Why is that?
$40 worth of Oreos?
Yeah, because you're going into the grocery store with no plan, and you've got all of the hands in the cart, loading up everything. I saw this happen in front of me the other day when I was over at Target in the Fort Union area. There was a couple walking through the grocery store right in front of me, and I'm sorry you blocked the aisle, so I had to watch everything you were doing, and that's okay. I don't mind it, but one person's grabbing from one side of the aisle, and the other person's grabbing all the ding-dongs. So what? I don't know. What's a box of ding-dongs? $4? What's 2 boxes? $8? Now you got 4 or 5 people at the grocery cart with you, pushing it along and adding stuff you didn't need, and you are suddenly just wasting money. I could go on and on and on about all of the things that we're doing and not doing to save money, and what we're doing to contribute to blowing through $150,000 a year, from trading in that house that's a perfectly fine house on a bigger house so you can impress your friends and your family, buying that shiny car instead of buying that used car, spending frivolous amounts of money at drive-thrus without a grocery spending plan for the week. I was there. That's how come I can blame you. I did this. And it takes discipline to stop it. And thankfully, Dave Noriega has the perfect medicine for this. He's got a plan. He's going to share it with us straight ahead.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave and Debbie go out of their way to make sure you hear all sides of a story.
They're working the phones to get several viewpoints on for you.
Hi, it's Tim and Amanda. We get you the full story, too.
We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
Step into the warmth of the holidays at Western Nut. We're here to make gift-giving special and stress-free. Grandpa's favorite peanut brittle, a gift basket with a variety of nuts and treats for your neighbor who brings in your garbage cans. How about your coworkers? Yep, we've got you covered. With our nut gift boxes, pre-wrapped in holiday paper, homemade caramels, baking nuts, popcorn brittle, dried fruit trays, and cashews galore. Local honey and jams, and our Nut of the Month subscription give a variety of nut gift boxes straight to their door. Our shop is a winter wonderland, and this year, join us to kick off our huge holiday preview sale and save on everything in store. 4th South and 3rd West, November 7th, 8th, and 9th. Stuck at the North Pole? Visit westernut.com or call our team, who will take your order and ship your gift with care. Western Nut has been a part of Utah family traditions for nearly 60 years. More than nuts. At Western Nut Company, we sell memories.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 13 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, Idaho, Wyoming, and Nevada, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, or other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 90 days from a station contest or event are not eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com.
Do you have chirping smoke detectors? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and if you've ever experienced chirping smoke detectors, you already know how annoying it can be. A great first step to try and stop the chirping is to change the batteries. If the chirping continues, it's possible that your smoke detector has gone bad. As a matter of fact, a lot of people don't even realize that manufacturers recommend replacing the smoke detector altogether after 10 years. If you remove the smoke detector from the wall, on the back you should find a date of when it was made. Do a little math and you'll know how old it is. Now, Any Hour Services knows being a homeowner means you've got a list a mile long of things to do around the house, and check my electrical system probably isn't one of them. That's why we've put together this radio special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive inspection of your electrical system that includes testing those smoke detectors and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. Call Any Hour Services to schedule it. 801-443-7300. 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm a building contractor. About a year prior to the market crashing, we had a big job that was unable to pay a bill of about 6 figures. We were still left with a very difficult situation with the IRS. Eventually, at the end of the day, I realized that the penalties and interest were growing faster than my ability to save to deal with it. I had talked to people and I felt that Jordan Wilcox represented best what I thought could help me, primarily because they were local. And I needed a bigger solution than I was coming up with. It takes too long to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit taxhelput.com to schedule your free consultation.
I would recommend Jordan Wilcox. It feels very good to not have the IRS on your back.
That's taxhelput.com.
Not to brag, but Progressive's Name Your Price tool is mankind's greatest tool ever. Even better than the wheel. Sure, without the wheel, we wouldn't have modern transportation or funny videos of dogs riding skateboards. But without the Name Your Price tool, we wouldn't have easy access to auto insurance options based on our budget. And, well, cars do need wheels. They also need insurance, and insurance never goes flat. Learn more about the greatest tool ever, the Name Your Price tool at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy 2. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Tim Hughes. First, a man involved in the deadly crash that killed the Lifetime CEO and his daughter has been arrested in connection with the case. Police did not specify what that connection was. Second, a good amount of rain and snow has already fallen, and we're expected to see more as we work through the afternoon. And third, the machinist strike at Boeing is now in its 7th week, and the company is making a new effort to raise cash. Boeing says it hopes to generate almost $20 billion by selling stock. We're going to look for a high today of only 47 degrees, and right now with all the clouds and rain, it's 41. Let's get you back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic. Dave and Dujanovic.
This report from CNN saying more families making over $150,000 a year find themselves living paycheck to paycheck. Some of that is blamed on inflation. And I just spent about 6 minutes blaming it on our resistance to looking in the mirror, going over our family budget, and stopping the spending on things that are what I would be considered frivolous. And Dave, thankfully, he is our knight in shining armor because he is going to fly in here with a solution to what I call frivolous family spending.
It was because I met with a financial planner. And we sat down and we filled out a survey. We looked at our assets, our liabilities. This is not something you do in 5 minutes, folks. This is we're going to sit down, we're going to get our ducks in a row, we're going to figure out the family finances, and we're going to invest some time in it. That being said, it maybe took me a couple of days to do it. So it wasn't, this was a 6-month process. This was a couple days of really breaking down finances.
Just think of it like this. Did it beat going out and getting a side hustle to make up for all of the wasted money that you were spending, like spending a couple of days figuring out your finances, how you can rein in your frivolous spending? Is it like giving yourself a raise and taking your life back from big business that where you're dropping extra hundreds of dollars every single month?
Holy smokes, that is exactly what it was. That's how it felt. When you start saving the money, you're already bringing the money in, when you start saving, I know penny saved is a penny earned. It truly is the case. Now, what we did, and when we met with this financial planner, is we figured out, and we handed him all our stuff. This is everything we make. This is all we have. The first thing he said is, you've got to track your money better.
Spending.
You've got to know where it's going. And he said there's actually an app for that. There's an app for everything, folks. There is an app for that. And you've probably seen it advertised. The one that he recommended was Rocket Money. Now, maybe your mortgage, Rocket Mortgage, you've heard of this. This is one of those legitimate money sites that he recommended.
So it's ROCKET, Rocket?
Yeah, Rocket.
Not spelled a fancy way. Okay, good to know.
ROCKET, Rocket Money. So this is the app, and what it does is you download it, and it takes a while. You've got to upload, you got to connect your debit card, your credit cards. Now, it doesn't have access to these. You know, like if you do auto pay, you actually give these companies access to draw money from your account. That is not what this is. What they do is they what they call scrape the data. So all they're looking at is when I go to Crown Burgers, I buy a burger, I swipe my card, they say, oh, I know this code. It's fast food. So the $12.53, Dave, that you spent on the burger and fries, what it's going to do in Rocket Money is it's going to list it as fast food spending. When I go to Smith's or Harmon's or Walmart and I buy groceries, it's going to see that code and it's going to itemize it and say, this is your groceries. So over the month, you will see, okay, where am I spending all my money? I spend this money eating out. I spend this much money on my groceries. I spend this much money in our subscriptions. And it breaks it down. And it gives you a little pie chart. And you can see, all right, is my fun a sliver or is it like half the pie? Right? And it is such a great visual. And it breaks it down on a fantastically detailed way that you can't help but look at it and hold yourself accountable.
So what did you find that most of your money was being, I'll say, wasted on?
Eating out.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Drive-thrus and stuff.
Drive-through. And then the amount of money we were spending at the grocery store. The amount of money we were spending on food was staggering in my opinion. And it was, I think it was $1,500 a month. And
$1,500 a month.
Yeah. Now, this was a family of 6, right? This was 4 kids, mom and dad, and we're feeding. And because we're busy and we're running kids from practice to practice, swing through McDonald's, grab some quick food. We'll go to buy Little Caesars and get some cheap pizza. We were doing this in addition to buying food. And I said, this is insane. This is absolutely bonkers. So I said, honey, this is going to be my thing. This is where I'm going to help the family.
This is my side hustle. I'm going to shave the grocery budget down as much as I can. And as a result, how much did you save?
Well, it exactly was my side hustle because we had talked about me getting another job to start paying for some of these things. So we figured out the budget. We stopped eating out as much. And I started feeding our family on about $150 a week. So that's...
You had a plan.
Because I had a plan. It was $600 a month. We dropped from $1,500 a month down to $600
That's
a
like
month.
$900 a month savings.
It was, what would I have to do to make an additional $900 in a side hustle?
Weekends. You'd be working weekends.
Totally. In like full-time weekends, like 8-hour-a-day weekends. But because I said, all right, let's go in there, and I changed our eating habits. We started eating healthier. We started eating more vegetables and fruits, and we changed our eating habits, which was fantastic. And in addition to that, we're saving boatloads of cash. Mm-hmm. And it was because I was able to look at it on this app, and it said, Dave, face reality. You're spending a ton of money here. Do you want to keep spending it there? Your choice.
Yeah.
And he said no.
But the awesome part of that story, Dave, is you addressed it.
Yeah.
That you took the next step. You didn't just look at the numbers and go, we're spending a lot of money. Let's just continue spending a lot of money at the groceries. You came up with a plan, you addressed it, and now you're saying, you're saving almost $1,000 a month Okay, I think we need to talk more about this tomorrow because I want to know what your grocery saving plan is, and I'm going to share what mine was when we're feeding 5 people.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top story this hour. UDOT snowplow drivers were up early this morning when snow started falling in the canyons. They say what we're seeing today is an average start to the snowplow season, and they have the resources they need to tackle the roads once things get going. Utah Jazz second-year forward Taylor Hendricks undergoing treatment after he broke his leg in last night's game with Dallas. Hendricks left the game on a stretcher with about 6 minutes left in the third quarter. Jazz head coach Will Hardy said after the game,
everybody on our team and really in our organization that's traveling with us went through that room to see him just now. So I'll sit down and have a longer conversation with him at some point in the near future. I know he's processing a lot right now.
The team officially announced that Hendricks had broken his fibula and dislocated an ankle. No official word yet on whether he'll have any chance of returning to the court this season. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The FBI has now joined the investigation after incendiary devices were apparently attached to several ballot drop boxes in Portland and Vancouver. The fires destroyed hundreds of ballots, and people who used the ballot boxes after the last collection being urged to get replacements now from county officials. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 48 points, while the NASDAQ is up 107. And KSL weather. Looks like that rain is going to taper off through the day. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
It's a priority for us at this station to bring you all sides of a story and to talk about the news fairly, completely.
Get all the facts and be really aware. Utah's Morning News with us, Tim and Amanda.
Weekday mornings 5 to 9 on KSL News Radio.
Jazz games at Delta Center are unforgettable. From the atmosphere, the crowd noise, and of course, the electrifying on-court action. With ticket plans, you can go to as many as 11 games this season. Choose from packages like the All-Star Plan, Weekend Plan, or the Western Rivals Plan, and get what works for you. Come cheer on the Jazz and get your ticket package at utahjazz.com.
Jim Weber is here from Foothill Oriental Rugs, where the semi-annual sale is underway now. Jim, describe the variety of rugs people will find when they come into your store.
We really have Utah's most complete selection, from contemporary to tribal to vegetable-dyed Afghan goods are doing really well right now. They're rich, jewel-tone colors made with vegetable dyes, and the designs are a little bit tribal, so they have a little bit of a tribal geometric edge to them, and really popular right now.
Describe what a difference it makes to have a beautiful rug in your home.
Maria, it's like a piece of art on your floor, and it will set the tone for the room. It's a handmade textile that will wear like iron, and you might want to take 2 or 3 pieces and try them, and once you get it in the room, you'll know if it's right or not. We want our customers to love what they end up with, and it's critical to see it in the space.
Don't miss out. Get your home ready for the holidays now. The semi-annual sale is underway early this year. You will find rugs up to 70% off. Foothill Oriental Rugs, 1460 South Foothill Drive, just south of Foothill Village.
Jeff Kaplan. I'm energized by breaking news. First of all, because it's right now, and second of all, because in many cases the audience needs to know. There's no more important service that we can provide, and I find it critically important to get more details to the audience as quickly as possible. There's nothing more energizing than that for me. Not at all. The most important thing we do is breaking news. I am gratified that so many people listen to me every afternoon on KSL, but what they don't know is that there are so many people behind the scenes making it happen, checking on the traffic, answering the phones, making the calls, talking to the newsmakers. They're out in the street, into the field to get the raw information, and then putting it all together so that I can sit in front of a microphone and be a source of information every afternoon. But there are so many people who make it happen. That's what you don't know.
Ride Home with Jeff Kaplan, weekdays 3 to 7 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app.
Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, traffic is almost back to normal freeway speeds, especially if you're southbound I-15 from Ogden into Salt Lake City. Northbound through most of Utah County is pretty good. There's a little slowing if you're coming up from the center of Utah up into Santaquin. And then again, as you round the point of the mountain from Utah County into Draper, those are our only major slow spots. But snow is still falling in the higher elevations, like Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon and over Parley Summit, making for a very slushy drive. At the Big O Tires Fall Into Savings Sale, come in and save up to $120 on select sets of 4 in-stock tires now through November 3rd. Big O Tires, the team you trust. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
And rain will taper off this afternoon. Partly cloudy tomorrow and Halloween with just a chance of showers. Right now, we're looking at 42 degrees with the showers. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
So over the course of 4 years, the amount of artificial intelligence generated, they call it disinformation, also known as deepfakes, has increased more than 500%. I think what really shook me is what Utah Valley University found, Dave, about these deepfakes on social media. Half of people who encounter these phony videos don't realize they're being fooled and spoofed. And that's all according to the work that UVU has done.
How about that? You've got a coin flip of a chance of figuring out if this is a real video or a deep fake. That is super crazy. Like that speaks to a level of sophistication in the way these videos are produced, that it is fooling your eyeballs, it's fooling your ears, it's fooling your gut reaction, and you're looking at a totally generated video and you're saying, nope, that's real.
Yeah. It could be VP Kamala Harris. It could be former President Donald Trump. It could be a local official.
Tom Cruise.
It could be a local news reporter that they've created a deep fake reporting on a fake story. Before you know it, you're sharing it on social media and you're completely buying off on it.
More than half of Americans failed the test to see if they could tell the difference between what's real and fake. Senior analyst of the project, Hope Fager, says this was concerning.
I created this deepfake in a weekend on my own personal laptop with a software I found online for free. The question is no longer whether deepfakes can get that good. It is a question of who is capable of creating deepfakes that are that good.
This problem is getting pretty local. Earlier this year, a deepfake of Governor Cox was circulating on X, spreading misinformation about his gubernatorial race. Hugh Urquhart Bell, KSL News Radio.
And when it is so convincing, what do we do? How do we figure this out? How do we know whether or not this thing is legitimate or not? Debbie, I told you when I first saw the first assassination attempt on former President Trump, I initially thought it was a deep fake. That's what I thought initially. I thought there's no way that happened. And it wasn't until I researched several different trusted news stations that I realized, oh, this is really happening. But my initial reaction was, no, this is fake.
Brandon Amaker is the director of UVU's Emerging Tech Policy Lab. You're also an instructor at UVU for the Center for National Security Studies. Let's talk about how this experiment was run, and just reading over some of the stories and learning more about it myself, it seems as though some of the individuals who were tested for this were brought in to a lab area. But can you expand on that and how that part of this the project went down?
Yeah, absolutely. So we tested 244 people total. That spread across the country. So we had 204 all throughout the United States, and then we had 40 people that we brought into the lab setting. in which we both tested both their kind of perception and the impact of the deepfake media, as well as we monitored some biometric information for them, meaning we were looking at their eye movements, their micro expressions, trying to monitor for a non-conscious response to see if there was a difference in how people non-consciously respond to deepfake media versus real media.
Okay, so how were they responding when they were looking at these?
So the first thing is that, one, in terms of the impact, we measured several categories, including how knowledgeable they thought the speaker was, how credible they thought the information was, the trustworthiness of the speaker. And what came back, which was a little surprising, is that it was all within margin of error, meaning there was no perceptible difference between the deepfake media and the real media in terms of the impact on the viewer. And as a matter of fact, the deepfake actually outperformed in several of our categories, slightly outperformed real media in several of our categories. We did see that there was a bit of a non-conscious response, meaning that people do tend to have a bit of a heightened sense of engagement and confusion when looking at deepfake media, but that didn't translate to any of their answers in terms of how credible or trustworthy they thought the media actually was.
So are you saying their spidey sense was going off and then they just ignored it?
Perhaps, yeah. It seemed like subconsciously they seemed to be more tuned in. Perhaps, they knew that something was a little off, but it really did not affect their responses. And, the reason for that, it might not be that it was even something that crossed their mind and that they consciously ignored it. It could just be, hey, this is a completely non-conscious thing, but kind of your brain at a certain level knows that it's not real, but that doesn't reach the level of our human reasoning.
Were they watching these fake videos on a large monitor, or were you showing it to them on like a small phone? Because I look at the difference between looking at something and viewing something on a 55-inch monitor compared to my phone, and I might be able to detect a deep fake more easily on that large monitor.
Yeah, so I think the majority of them will probably have seen it on a monitor. A few of them that we tested nationwide may have viewed it on a phone, but
Okay.
I believe the majority of participants tested it on a large monitor, which actually makes it a little bit more concerning because,
Yeah.
as you said, hypothetically, it should be easier to detect something on a bigger screen with a higher definition.
With the technology improving almost daily when it comes to deep fake technology, is there any way to spot a deep fake?
Yeah, I mean, one, it really depends on the quality. Right now, we've got some amazing students who are able to put together a very, very high quality deepfake fairly quickly. But, some of the stuff that's out there is still not very good. But the best advice I can give is, we're getting to the point now where really assessing the quality of a deepfake is not the best way to try to detect it. I would say the better thing is to say, hey, this information makes me feel, very angry, or this seems too good or too bad to be true. Maybe let's double check the source, regardless of whether or not the content seems to be of a high enough quality or not.
I'm also amazed that it seems like even when people were told it was a fake video, they still didn't buy it.
Yeah, it was interesting because in some of the responses, so we wanted to simulate as close as possible the real environment when somebody encounters something like this, on social media. And so when they were initially viewing the video, they weren't aware that there was a possibility that it could be a deepfake until after we kind of got those initial responses on the impact. And then we told them, hey, you may have seen a deepfake. What do you think you saw? And how confident are you? And as we said, 50% or more of people who saw deepfake content thought it was real. But another scary portion that we found is that when people who saw real content, only 70% of them were confident that they had seen something real, meaning that 30% of them either were unsure or thought that they had seen a deepfake, even though they had seen real content.
That is so wild. Well, thank you for joining us. What an interesting study from UVU. Brendan Amaker is the director of UVU's Emerging Tech Policy Lab and instructor for the UVU Center for National Security Studies.
So one of the major concerns about these fake videos that you'll see from time to time on social media Dave, you said you verified during that first assassination attempt. If that because your mind went to, oh, this might be a deep fake. I was once many, many years ago when deep fakes started to sort of emerge, but they weren't as prolific as they are now, was fooled by what I thought was a jetliner. And this is not a real story. This was fake. Looked like the wing was on fire, and I saw that video online, and I thought, oh my goodness, there's a jetliner going down. Thankfully verified that story, but now you got to think about this from a political standpoint. As politicians are running for office, or there are videos of them floating around the internet appearing to say one thing when they didn't actually say it at all. Straight ahead, we're going to get Utah County Commissioner Amelia Powers Gardner on the line because she brought to our attention yet another aspect of deep fakes that you probably aren't aware of.
They'll make a deep fake of a fake local reporter reporting news, because those oftentimes people don't know who the names of every reporter in their local news stations are or their local newspapers.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Current events can have a lot of moving parts. Our job is to make it easy to keep up.
You're part of a bigger world, so spend 15 or 20 minutes here and be part of it.
Join us weekday mornings between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
We've sat down several times and talked to the owners of Renaissance Ranch, and one thing that they constantly bring up is the importance of family members being involved in the process of recovery from addiction.
Yeah, they do a great job with these weekly classes that are open to the public. And when they say they're open to the public, they 100% mean they're open to anyone. You can attend as many classes as you wish.
I'm looking at their website right now, and it's renaissanceranch.com, and you can see where all these available classes are. They're available for spouses, for parents. They come from a personal perspective. There's a women's support group. There's even a couples recovery group.
Yeah, they treat adult men. They have an amazing alumni following. They're faith-based, clinically proven for more than 20 years. So many benefits.
Today is Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So that's the Women's Addiction Recovery Group. You can join it on Zoom. Learn more, just go to renaissanceranch.com.
It's been an unusually warm October.
Most 80-degree plus days ever in history.
But it is October.
Snow levels could come down to 5,000 feet again.
Expect scary cold temps for Halloween week and get an updated KSL forecast before any tricks or treats. In your car at 102.7 FM.
Everywhere you look, things are getting more expensive. So at Consumer Cellular, we're lowering the price for those 50 and up. Now you can get unlimited talk, text, and data for $30 a line when you buy two. That's just $60 a month for 2 unlimited lines. So if you're 50 and up, make the switch and save. Come on, you've earned this. Call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com today. Requires 2 lines of service, age validation, and credit approval, subject to system and area limits, taxes, and other fees apply.
Hey, what are you doing up on the step stool?
About to clean these light fixtures. The whole family's coming over, and if there's even a speck of dust in the house, my abuela will find it.
Here, I got a Swiffer duster to help with that.
A Swiffer what?
A Swiffer duster. It has this cool extendable handle that reaches 6 feet to get high and low, with fluffy dusters that easily trap and lock dust.
So no more step stool?
No more step stool.
Easily trap and lock dust from hard-to-reach places with the Swiffer duster. Love it or your money back.
Look, I know there's some burnout going on with the election coming up in just a few days, but let me tell you, you've made it this far along with Dave and I. And if you want the latest election results on election night and beyond, there's a really simple way to get all of that information right to your phone. All you have to do is text the word news to 57500. What does that get you? That gets you free updates on breaking news, election results, weather, traffic alerts, right to your cell phone. 57500 is the number to text, and here's what you're going to text: news. And you're going to join Dave and I in getting regular updates on breaking news.
Getting help with plumbing repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
Do you know how many devices the average home has connected to their Wi-Fi network?
It's way more than I thought. I actually went home and counted how many connected devices I own. More than a dozen, all to keep me connected to the good stuff. My streaming, my gaming, all my interneting, you name it. Xfinity knows the number of devices we have connected to the internet is growing by the year. That's why they engineered their gateways to handle hundreds of connected devices. Hundreds! For real. Now through December 31st, get Xfinity Gig Internet for $25 a month for 12 months with Peacock Premium, a $7.99 monthly value included at no extra cost when you add unlimited mobile, or lock in your internet price for 2 years for just $5 more a month with a 1-year contract. Early termination fee applies. Make sure your home Wi-Fi can handle everything you throw at it and then some. Call, click, or visit a store today. Xfinity. Bring on the good stuff. Restrictions apply. Requires paperless billing and auto pay with stored bank account, taxes, and fees extra. Gig Wi-Fi requires Xfinity Gateway. Xfinity Mobile requires Xfinity Internet. After promo, regular internet rates apply. Currently $96 a month. Actual speeds vary.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bonas. First, snowplow crews were out ready to go this morning for our first snowstorm of the season. Second, the FBI has now joined the investigation of ballot box fires in Washington and Oregon. And third, police in Wyoming have arrested a man accused of threatening both Catholics and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Utah. 42 degrees with showers in Salt Lake City. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We just got off the phone with Brandon Amakar. He teaches at UVU, National Security Studies, and also was talking to us about a really fascinating study that students at UVU just wrapped up about deepfakes, these artificial intelligence-generated videos that might be littering your social media feeds. Maybe you think you're seeing a politician say something and you're like, what? But you believe it.
Between the deepfake media and the real media in terms of the impact on the viewer. And as a matter of fact, the deepfake actually outperformed in several of our categories, slightly outperformed real media in several of our categories.
How incredible is that? It's a flip of a coin whether or not people could spot whether or not something was a deep fake. Now, deepfake technology has been around for a long time. You probably remember the old Russell Crowe movie Gladiator. Mm-hmm. They had an actor that passed away during filming. His name was Oliver Reed, and there was still an important scene to shoot. And they actually used deepfake technology to recreate this one scene. So it has been around for a long time. But it took hundreds of hours and computers and pictures. Right now, you can upload 1 or 2 photos of somebody, and you have almost instant access to deepfake technology.
One of the students involved in this study said that it was just her working on a free app over a weekend, Amelia, and she was able to create a deepfake video in no time. Amelia Powers-Gardner on the line with us right now. She's a Utah County Commissioner. And I heard you say something yesterday in response to this UVU study that was conducted. And looks like they had almost 300 participants that they showed deep fakes and real videos to. And you said, hey, in some cases, they may be deep faking a local news reporter who's reporting something that's totally false on a deep fake video, but you're fooled. You're fooled by that.
Yeah. So one of the things that they have found, and there was a study that was done in the UK and in the EU, and they were looking at dis and misinformation being spread by Russia. So they were specifically looking for Russian influence in the European Parliament elections. And what they found is this pattern where if you do a deep fake of an elected official, of a politician, oftentimes people kind of know what their governor looks like, right? And when you do this deep fake, sometimes people question, is that real? But what they find a higher success rate with is if they do a deep fake of a reporter reporting fake news. So then it's not like, oh, well, there was this video, but it was deep fake. It was like, well, no, I saw it on the news, and the news verified. And so what they found is 2 things. Number one, they'll create fake content and then have it look like it's being reported
by a local reporter. The second thing is they're actually fabricating reporters. So as an example, what they would do is they would create something called like the Santa Fe Times, which doesn't exist as a real news station or publication in Santa Fe, and then they'll create fake reporters, Barbara Johnson, for the Santa Fe Times that sounds like it could be real, and then they will regurgitate using AI. They'll regurgitate local news stories and attribute them to this fake reporter, and then they'll throw in their fake information as one of 10 news stories.
It is incredible to see how easily accessible this technology is now. How have we done as far as keeping up or combating this technology, and what are some of the solutions that you see where we could push back and try to figure out how to combat this?
Well, as far as keeping up, there's just not a chance that we could. This is moving so quickly. 6 months ago, it would have been difficult for that student to use a free app over the weekend and create such good deepfakes. So the technology is moving at a significantly faster pace than even our culture or our government can respond to. So we're not keeping up. But there are some emerging technologies that can help us. Ironically, I think the solution to the technology problem is going to be more technology. But there's two in particular. There's one that was actually highlighted at UVU yesterday and has a partnership with the Gary Herbert Institute. That technology is called SureMark. And what SureMark does is it adds a digital watermark, a dynamic digital watermark to digital content. Think of it, they described it to me like a picture from Harry Potter, where the picture moves. In Harry Potter, those pictures will move and be animated. It's a digital watermark that moves to ensure that it's not copyable. And as creators create content, this could be a news reporter like you, it could be an elected official like me. As we create content, we would add our watermark to it to show that this is authentic content. There's one way.
Yeah.
The other way is there are some technologies, like there's a company out of Austin called Polygraph that with over 90% accuracy, it can scan digital content and tell you with a 90% accuracy if it was created using AI content.
Okay.
That's a plugin that you would put on your browser. So, but these are things we would have to add, we would have to know and add to our daily routine. Check for the watermark, scan this with Polygraph, and see if we can determine whether or not what we're consuming is AI.
Amelia Powers Gardner is with Utah County Commission. She's a Utah County Commissioner. Live on the line, she was involved yesterday in the press availability that happened regarding a UVU study on deep fakes, which found that about half of Americans who encountered artificial intelligent deep fakes, videos on social media that are fake, don't realize they're looking at a fake video. And I have to ask you this question because we are so close to a major election. You know, election day is Tuesday. What is your concern in terms of politicians being deep faked?
Well, we've already seen deep fakes of our governor, of Spencer Cox, in this election. And I think coming down to the last few days, it is a real risk because these last few days before the election, if a deep fake were to come out, it's very hard to get the word out that it is a deep fake just before someone goes to the polls. So this is a real concern that if you see anything that comes out and you're confused, it doesn't seem on pattern, it doesn't seem on par, it seems sensational that would happen, question it before you assume it's true.
Amelia Powers Gardner, thank you for joining us, the Utah County Commissioner.
So we're the first line of defense regarding these deep fakes, and sometimes it can be tricky to tell. But I like what you did in terms of the first assassination attempt against the former president, President Trump, this last summer. You initially thought it was, a fake video. You weren't sure of what you were seeing. And instead of just making assumptions one way or the other, you decided to start checking news organizations that actually travel with the president, travel with politicians, to see what they were reporting.
And that is the key to me. And I think so often as we're spinning through our phones and watching, video after video, we're not really paying attention to, is this a reliable source? Because when you go to your local news station, we have in place protocols to make sure that we verify whether or not something is authentic or not. If someone just sends us a video, we don't just immediately throw it on air. We have to verify it first. And that's where I think this could be a good thing for the news business, because we can lead out and make sure that everything we produce and everything that we put out there has been vetted, many times over. And that, I think, will bring a lot of trust.
Straight ahead, sugar shock. Americans eat nearly 80 pounds of sugar every single year. Up next, we'll get snackable tips on how to ditch our sweet tooth when a Utah State University professor dials up the show. Straight ahead.
It's 10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top local story this hour. A man's been arrested in connection with a deadly crash this past summer. Police say 52-year-old Michael John Love was involved in the crash in Ogden Canyon that killed the CEO of Lifetime, Richard David Hendrickson, along with his 16-year-old daughter. The two died after a bulldozer fell off a tow truck and landed on their truck. Police haven't specified what Love's connection to that crash is. Police in Wyoming arrested a man who's accused of threatening Catholics and members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints here in Utah. Cottonwood Heights Police Sergeant Gary Young tells KSL-TV that the suspect, Keith Barber, attended a mass in Cottonwood Heights and then called them.
He's saying he feels persecuted by the Catholics. He wants to go to war. He said he had a knife.
Police later found the suspect and arrested him in Lyman, Wyoming on unrelated charges. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Another mass casualty event in Gaza, where Israeli defense forces have bombed a building that appears to have housed several hundred people. The attack unfolding in the north part of Gaza, where intense combat recently resumed, with the IDF claiming Hamas has regrouped north of Gaza City, even operating out of the Kamal Adwan hospital. Health authorities in Gaza say 70 people were killed in that attack, including 20 children. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down now 87 points on the day, while the NASDAQ is up 82. And our KSL weather, the rain is going to taper off by this afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 10:32.
Here's a way to get breaking news updates anywhere you go.
At the store or in a work meeting, you can get breaking news on your phone.
You can quickly read it, swipe, or click for more. It's super discreet, super fast.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
We've been telling you guys about how Master Electrical Services has joined Mountain Home Services, but you want to talk about one-stop shopping. Mountain Home Services has it all right now.
That's right. Not only do they do your electrical and your HVAC needs, but now let's add fireplaces to the mix.
I don't know anyone in the world that loves a fireplace, a gas fireplace like my mother. In the summer, she will fire it up. She loves it so much. And now Mountain Home Services can take care of all of this for you and pick out a beautiful fireplace for your house.
It all comes with their upfront pricing guarantee, which means there are no hidden fees and 100% satisfaction guaranteed.
And they will install. Mountain Home Services, this isn't going to be like some third party that comes into your house. You're going to get the same expertise that Mountain Home Services has always offered. Again, this is the company that we trust, and so can you.
Find them online at mountainhomeutah.com. That's mountainhomeutah.com.
Or give them a call at 801-543-2222. That's 801-543-2222.
Hello, this is Congresswoman Celeste Malloy. I'm running for re-election to represent you and keep Utah's conservative values in Washington, D.C. Like you, I'm tired of a government that spends too much, listens too little, and makes all of our lives harder. In Washington, I'm pushing back against bad ideas and liberal policies. Let me keep representing you so I can keep fighting for you, because we are just getting started.
I'm Celeste Malloy, and I approve this message.
Paid for by Celeste for Congress.
You do countless things without a second thought to protect your family and home. Every time you're in the car, you buckle your seatbelt. Before the next load of laundry, you remove the dryer lint. When you head out, you always lock your doors. And one simple task, done far less often, can protect your family and home this winter. Schedule a furnace inspection by a certified heating contractor to check for safety and efficiency. A friendly reminder from Enbridge Gas.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa this weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit hottubandSwimSpaSale.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's Dino Pay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Heather Kelly.
We still have rain showers moving across parts of the Wasatch Front, and every time the rain falls, it slows down traffic like what's happening right now. Northbound I-15 between the I-80 east toward Sugar House all the way into downtown Salt Lake City. No crashes are reported in the area, but traffic is at a crawl in all lanes. So that's going to take you a few extra minutes to get through. Otherwise, most of the roadways are in pretty good shape. They're either damp or drying out. You shouldn't have too many problems on the east or west side belt routes or 201 freeway. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Rain will taper off this afternoon. It'll be partly cloudy tomorrow and Halloween with just a chance of showers. And right now, 43 degrees with showers around. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Sugar shock. Dave, I couldn't believe it when I read this study. Americans eat nearly 80 pounds of sugar every year.
That is monstrous.
It works out to be 99 grams or something like that a day. And I'm like, I'm sorry, I don't do gram math unless it's graham cracker math in my head. But that's equivalent to
how many grams?
99 grams of sugar daily. This is a study from Talker Research. They did it on behalf of Hint Water. I've had some of that water before. I rather like it. I like water, though. I like all water. It's beautiful.
I like my water to taste like Diet Coke.
I know. I was trying to get you to say that. So basically, they're just looking at America's sugar habits. And so they was like, okay, we ingest, love that word, ingest 99 grams of sugar every single day, which is more than the amount of sugar that you'd find in 2 12-ounce cans of, like, real soda.
That's a staggering amount. That is a staggering amount. When I think of the amount of Coke, the regular Coke, the fully sugar caffeinated Coke that I've drunk in my life, a 12-ounce can has 10 teaspoons of sugar. Now imagine if you had a little sugar jar there and you had teaspoons and you dip it in 10 times, that's one 12-ounce Coke. I mean, that is an incredible amount of sugar.
I think so often when we think of our sugar consumption, another word I love to use, when we think about eating sugar, we think, oh, it's a donut, it's a cookie, it's the sugar frosted cookie, that big pink cookie that's the size of your face that's hanging by a thread.
Sounds amazing.
In the machine in the break room, yeah. Those are kinds of things. But think about sugars and a lot of other things that we eat. I just think we kind of dismiss it because we don't realize it. But I don't have a big sweet tooth. I used to in my 20s. And my sugar vice was Hardee's. Does anybody remember Hardee's?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the Hardee's in Midvale, the one I'm talking about? I think now it's a BK. It's right across the street from the Maverick there. y'all know what I'm talking about, right? So you just go through the Hardee's drive-through, and you would give them your plastic mug back then. We didn't really have Stanley's back then. So you give them your plastic mug, and they would fill it up, and I'd get real soda. And I would do that, and it was like, I don't know, was that thing like 100-ouncer? It was like the size of like a oil tanker. I would fill that up, and then I would drive over, because I worked at Channel 4 News at the time here, and we'd drive over there, and I'd drink it all the way, and then I'd be out, and I'd have to fill it up again, and then I would fill it up at night with straight Coca-Cola. And it was like a quarter to fill it up. Don't do that anymore, thankfully. But I want to look to an expert as to what we can do to deal with our sugar vices.
Jenna Dykman joins us right now from Utah State University with the Home and Community Department. 80 pounds just sounds astounding to me. Are you surprised by the study's findings?
Yeah, so this was an interesting article to read, and no, I wasn't too surprised. Americans take in a lot of sugar. So one thing to consider, though, is if they're talking about sugar in general, or if it's added sugar, only added sugar. So they might have surveyed everyone and said just their sugar intake in general, which sugar is an important part of our diet if it's from natural food sources, but added sugar, that's where the concern comes into play.
So let's talk more in depth about added sugar, that soda that I used to get multiple times a day at the drive-thru there in Hardee's at the Midvale restaurant, or a cookie or a donut that's sitting in the newsroom. It doesn't matter if it's day old. Either Dave or I walk by it and we'll eyeball it. What is that kind of sugar when we consume it in a large quantities? What is that doing to our body, Jenna?
Yeah, that's a really great question. So with added sugar, there's just research has shown that if we consume too much added sugar, it can contribute to certain health problems. It can increase our risk for obesity, type 2 diabetes, heart disease. So just regular sugar in general, it gives our body the energy it needs to function. But when we're consuming things like you said, like soda or those delicious treats that we love to eat, that can just increase our risk for possible chronic disease later in life.
Why does that sugar act differently, or does it act differently in my body than, say, some fruit?
Yeah, so sugar is sugar, no matter if it's from a natural source or an added source. When it comes down to it chemically, it's the same, and it'll act the same in your body. But with added sugar, the foods that we eat that contain added sugar don't really have a lot of other nutrients. So it's mainly just more calories and more added sugar. Whereas with natural foods, if we take fruit, for example, it's got fiber, it's got other health benefiting nutrients. So while we are taking in the same type of sugar, that extra sugar will be stored in our body and could increase our weight and, like I said, increase our risk for chronic diseases.
Jenna Dykman at Utah State University, she's an extension assistant professor on the line with us live, talking about all of the sugar that Americans consume every single year. And I've always wondered this, because when I don't eat a lot of added sugar foods anymore, but when I do, I feel like I get on a sugar kick. So when I eat an Oreo cookie, does that, the sugar in that cookie, no offense to Oreos, love them, but does that drive me to want to consume more of these yummy sweets that I love, I can fall in love with so quickly?
Yeah, great question. And I love Oreos too. So, so not getting into too much detail, but it's called a craving for a reason. And so we eat those sweet foods to satisfy that craving, but they do tend to come back. And so if we have that craving, it's all about doing things to manage that craving and not overeating in the moment when we're eating sweet treats or drinking soda.
Can we all agree right now we all want Oreos? And just a glass of milk with some Oreos. Jenna Dykeman, thank you so much for joining us.
What's your vice? Well, wait a minute. I want to take live phone calls. Look, I told you what I did in my 20s. I literally lived at the Hardee's drive-thru, filling up that oil tanker of a mug. I don't remember who sold that mug to me, but I would love to have another one that size again for all of the water I now drink. But what's your sugar vice? Is it cookies? Is it apple pie? Is it donuts? 801-575-TALK, 801-575-TALK. I shared mine, share yours. Dave's up next, too.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Here's a trick to podcasting at work and getting all the Utah news you love.
Download the KSL News Radio app.
The podcast for Utah's morning news and Dave and Debbie are right there. Dozens of podcasts a day.
That's the app for KSL News Radio.
Okay, it's confession time. Conference weekend cinnamon rolls and my birthday week got me out of some of the good habits I created with my friends at Soda Weight Loss, and I gained back a few of the 70 pounds I let go of earlier this year. But this is where Soda's true value really kicks in. It was just a quick call to my nutritionist, Kristen. We've got a plan back in place. I'll have this off within a couple of weeks and be right back to where I wanted to be again. Because with Soda, there's no drugs, no pills, no injections, and when you stop taking those quick solutions, medications, most people discover the weight just comes right back. Soda has real science, real results, and a proven method to melt that visceral fat and to keep it off for good. It's simple. Just go to sotaweightloss.com. That's SOTA weightloss.com. And while you're there, click the button, request a nutritionist callback, and within minutes, you'll be on the phone with somebody who's ready to help you change your life for the better. Because Soda is, say it with me, state of the art.
How was your drive to school?
Let me tell you, I had to get my iced coffee first. I just can't seem to put it down. My favorite rapper just announced a tour. My phone was buzzing like crazy. I'm so excited. I had to text all my friends right then to talk about it. Then, someone started calling me and...
Let's try that again.
I turned my phone off right away. I never drive distracted.
Visit StopTextStopWrecks.org. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
I don't feel so good.
You do feel hot. Dayquil Kids will take care of that fever.
What about my cough?
Dayquil Kids has that covered.
Will it make my throat feel better?
Yes, that too.
But will it taste good?
Yep, Dayquil Kids comes in your favorite flavor.
Purple?
Well, yes, it's grape.
Try new Dayquil Kids Plus Fever, the daytime coughing, aching, sore throat fever just for kids medicine. Safe for kids 6+. Use as directed.
As we approach the end of October now, you need to start planning ahead for all of those great occasions. Now, we've got Halloween at the end of the month. We've got Thanksgiving, all of the holiday Christmas celebrations and New Year's. Make sure you've got that reservation all set, locked down, ready to go at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And if you're thinking of a company party, if you're looking for a great gift, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse can take care of it. They've got special rooms for that company gathering, but you do need to make your reservation right now. And a gift card to Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Who wouldn't love that? 2 locations, Hotel Park City, and of course in the heart of downtown Salt Lake City at 275 Southwest Temple. They have got it all. The steaks cooked to perfection, seafood and poultry, those side dishes and desserts. Make sure this holiday season you are set and ready to go at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. Hotel Park City, downtown Salt Lake City.
Getting help with electrical repairs is easier than you think. All you have to do is call Any Hour Services or schedule an appointment at anyhourservices.com. No one helps more homeowners than Any Hour Services.
An airliner takes off from the Pacific Northwest, carrying 101 passengers and crew. Most aboard Flight 293 are active duty military and their families, headed to Cold War assignments in Alaska.
Surveillance of the Soviet military buildup
But somewhere over the ocean, with no distress call, the airliner plunges into the icy water below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, that aircraft would fly.
There were no survivors and no bodies were ever recovered. For decades, loved ones were left to wonder
what happened to Flight 293 and why hasn't there been any follow-up?
The government turned its back. Passengers and crew of Flight 293 were forgotten by everyone, except their families.
Unless we pursue it, we will never be issued a true explanation.
Unsolved Histories: What Happened to Flight 293 is available now. Follow us at unsolvedhistoriespod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, there's been an arrest in the accident last summer in Ogden Canyon that killed a man and his daughter. Second, health authorities in Gaza say dozens of people have been killed in an airstrike on an apartment building. And third, forget the free coupons. Airlines will now be required to give customers cash when they cancel flights. Right now, 43 degrees with showers. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
Dave, do you still have the study that we're talking about over there at your desk? The paycheck. Oh, not the paycheck to pay. We're talking about too many things today.
Yeah, I've got that one. I've got all sorts of stuff. I got lots of
my
notes.
Apologies.
We're talking sugar.
Yeah, we're talking sugar right now. We're going to talk more about paycheck to paycheck tomorrow. But a survey has found that Americans consume like 80 cups? 80 pounds. Caitlin's in my ear. She's like, get it together, Dujanovic. 80 pounds of sugar a
160
year.
cups. Can you believe that? 80 pounds. Now, I visualize it this way. When I carry a bag of salt, like for my water softener, that is 40 pounds. That's a 40-pound bag of salt.
That's the most brilliant thing you've ever said on this show.
There's 2 of those filled with sugar that I am dumping into my system.
I can hardly lift those 40-pound bags, and you have to lift them 3 times. That is the amount of sugar that's going into your body every year.
Now, this is for normal Americans. I am not a normal American. I'm supersized. So, like, 80 is probably my weekly, allocation. But 80 pounds on average, I'm definitely an overachiever.
I've got my act together, I think. Now I have a frog in my throat. The reason there are some emotional triggers for sugar, and by the way, we're going to take your live phone calls because I want to find out what your sweet tooth is all about. Like, what is that one thing that you can't give up? Is it apple pie? Is it Oreo cookies? And then, the more you eat, the more you want to eat. Stress. 39% of people who are surveyed in this particular survey said it's stress. Boredom. You're bored. You're standing in front of the pantry. You're bored, and you just start shoveling sugar in your face. You're tired. What do you think? You're going to get a sugar high? That's interesting. If I'm tired, the last thing I want is sugar because I know in about 30 minutes I'm going to experience a fatigue crash. Now this is probably more like my reasoning. Loneliness. You and I have talked about this, like being single.
Who needs a boyfriend when you have sugar?
17% say that the reason that they develop a sugar craving, they do it out of loneliness.
Taking your phone calls right now. Carl in Provo, we're admitting what our cravings are that account for the 80 pounds of sugar that we eat a year. Carl, what's your thing?
Well, my doctor said my A1C needs to come down a bit, so that's what I'm trying to do. I stay near apples and bananas, mostly bananas.
Okay.
But if I have to get a sugar rush, it's the dark chocolate raisins from Winco Bulk Food.
Really?
Raisins?
From the bin?
Yeah, dark chocolate raisins. They're delicious.
Is that from the bin? Do you use the scooper, or do they come in the bag?
No, in the bulk food.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
I buy 7 pounds at a time, but I don't eat them 7 pounds at a time. The problem is when you eat one, you have to eat 10 or 15.
Yeah, that's
handfuls or individual raisins. That's where I measure up by the handful, Carl. I don't measure up by the individual raisin. Are you crazy? By the handful.
Raisin. Chocolate. Thanks,
One
Carl.
or two handfuls.
Yeah, 1 or 2 handfuls. Enjoy the rest of your day. Chocolate chip cookies are the best.
I can murder a chocolate chip cookie.
This is what the listener, or one of our listeners, says at 57500. Chocolate chip cookies are the best. Okay, what kind of chocolate chip cookies? And can I give you a pro tip on how to make them? Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I
I
thought you were going to...
do you go like Nabisco?
Oh, no, you got to make it from scratch, right?
Oh,
the chocolate
okay.
chip cookies?
Do you eat the dough?
I mean, my wife's a dough gal. I like it cooked. I like it hot. I like it to burn my fingers off.
He's not getting it. You need to take that back right now. A dough gal. Come on, you got to take that back.
Is that going to get me in trouble?
Yes. You don't say that.
Not the first thing I've said that got me in trouble with my wife.
Okay. I use, somebody's got to help me out on the text line 57500. I'm just having one of those moments right now where I'm like kind of not on track here, but it's the Crisco, like the butter. It's not butter, but it's the bars.
Shortening.
Yeah, it's in it like it looks like a stick of butter. That is what you got to use to make your chocolate chip cookies with, and you got to add extra flour and back out some of the sugar.
Okay.
And you will be thanking me.
Well,
for the rest
take
of your
out
life.
sugar,
I just take
add
out some of the
shortening?
sugar. Yeah, it's just too much. Well, you can add sugar. Why not? That's what we're talking about. Added sugar. But you can take out some of the sugar because you were just in it for the chocolate chips. And when you use that Crisco, and again, I buy it with the butter flavoring, it just really fluffs up those cookies. It is delicious. And do not start eating the raw dough because you will not be able to stop. So chocolate chip cookies, dark chocolate covered raisins. What's your vice?
For a very long time, like you, it was the real Coca-Cola.
Yeah.
Not the Diet Coke that I switched over to. When I quit real Coke, sugar Coke, I did it for 2 months. I lost 30 pounds.
What? That's incredible.
I had absolutely.
Congratulations.
Well, that's fine. I put it back on later.
That's so cool, though, Dave. Did you switch to diet?
Yeah, I switched over to diet, and then I'm sure I filled it in with sugar elsewhere. But I would eat or I'd drink so much regular Coke, I had no interest in other sweets. So I never ate a candy bar. Because I had reached my sugar capacity. So I always thought, I don't eat a lot of sweets and candy bars. Well, it's because I was drinking it all. And it goes down so quickly and so easily. I had no idea. I didn't realize how much sugar I was consuming by drinking fully leaded, fully sugared Coca-Cola.
You just gave a amount of teaspoons that go in.
Oh, in a 12-ounce can, so just a little can, it is 10 teaspoons. I mean, just imagine. You're going back to that sugar scoop. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 times.
Yeah. This study that we've been talking about is we found it online on Study Finds. There's a lot of interesting studies that land on Study Finds. They surveyed 2,000 Americans. It was a study conducted by Talker Research. That's what we're talking about right now. On average, Americans eat the equivalent to nearly 80 pounds of sugar every single year. And they find that the survey found that 3:12 p.m. is the peak time for sugar cravings to hit you. And that on average, you'll experience the aftermath of a sugar binge. They say it's not pretty. It's not pretty. You experience the crash just 33 minutes after indulging. That's why I stay away from sugar anymore. As I just, you get that pump of energy from sugar, but then I hate the crash. Like I want to just curl up in a ball in a corner and go to sleep. So on our text line 57500, somebody texted us and said their favorite sugar craving, their sugar vice is pumpkin chocolate chip bread from Great Harvest. Newsflash.
Sign me up.
Great Harvest has pumpkin chocolate chip bread. That sounds delish. Cake donuts. What do you think about donuts?
Cake donuts, not my favorite.
Really?
I like a raised donut. Those are my favorite. Cake donuts a little too dense, a little too heavy. I like the raised donuts. Those go down easier.
Are they glazed raised?
Oh yeah, definitely glazed raised. Little chocolate, maybe some maple on top of
raised.
it. I'm not interested in sprinkles.
Okay, I appreciate your tips, but on the other hand, at midnight,
you haven't eaten a donut in 6 years. So
they said this person makes a large batch of chocolate chip cookies and then freezes the dough, and then every night breaks it off a little chunk of the frozen dough, and then bakes them 3 at a time. Like I said, I appreciate your tips, but like tonight when I do this, I will not appreciate that tip. Oh, they could eat 8 to 12 at a time.
That's why you freeze them. Otherwise, you'd break a tooth.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
It's 11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bonas. KSL's top story this hour. A new bridge in West Jordan won't open for another several months because of safety concerns. Here's KSL News Radio's Britt Johnson.
Inspectors found cracks in one of the support beams on the new bridge on 8600 South. John Gleason with UDOT says they've done an investigation into the cause of the cracks and found that the original design was done incorrectly. The project was already behind schedule, and now commuters will have to wait even longer for the bridge to open up.
UDOT does not have a new opening date for the bridge. The extra cost of the delay and repair will be assumed by the designer. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. So your airline flight is delayed or, heaven forbid, canceled? Well, as of today, says ABC's Jim Ryan, you have some options.
Before now, if you'd been booked on a flight that was disrupted, the airline would routinely offer you a flight voucher or credit toward a future ticket. New rules have just gone into effect that require the airlines to automatically issue cash refunds for flights that are canceled or significantly delayed.
And your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day 36 points. The NASDAQ is up right now by about 118. And our KSL weather, we're looking for the rain to taper off through the late morning and afternoon. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
News doesn't just mean information or dates.
It's the story of our local history being told in real time.
Be a part of the story. This is Tim Hughes and Amanda Dixon.
We hope to be a part of your story. We have you covered on KSL News Radio.
It's official. KSL Sports is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment on the KSL Sports Zone. Plus, let your voice be heard on the Utah Hockey Club Fan Forum on KSLSports.com, your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is KSL Sports and 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
At Social Security, we are always thinking of ways to save you time and make things easier. That's why we created My Social Security. Opening a My Social Security account gives you secure access to your personal record and interactive tools tailored for you. You can see if you are eligible to receive benefits, view spousal benefit estimates, and compare retirement benefit estimates at different ages or dates when you want to start receiving benefits. Already receiving benefits? Use your account to change your address, set up or change direct deposit, get a proof of income letter, and more. In most states, you can also request a replacement Social Security card. Save time. Go online. Open a My Social Security account at ssa.gov/myaccount. Social Security, securing today and tomorrow.
Produced at U.S. taxpayer expense.
Tim and Amanda.
One of the big differences, I think, between reading a story online and hearing it from us, Tim, is that, you and I are allowed to share a reaction. We need to be able to say, what in the world were they thinking? So that people listening will know. We feel it too. When we read a story that sounds ridiculous, we're right with you. It sounds ridiculous.
Well, we get caught up, I'm sure just like our listeners do sometimes, in death scrolling on social media.
Yeah.
And fact checking it on your own is tough. The great thing about tuning in every morning and starting your morning with us on KSL is you can count on the fact that when that information comes out of the radio in your direction, it comes from reliable sources.
It's already been fact-checked.
Right. And that's not always easy when you're getting it online. Finding who wrote it, when was it written, has it been updated with the current facts of the day that change sometimes minute to minute, not just day to day.
Utah's Morning News between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. Here's Heather Kelly.
Well, for the first time all morning long, we are back to freeway speeds in the valleys along the Wasatch Front. So no problems on I-15 northbound or southbound through Utah, Salt Lake, Davis, and Weber counties. You also have a pretty good drive coming out of Tooele County on I-80 and the 201 freeway. But if you're heading into the higher elevations like I-80 through Parley's Canyon, Big and Little Cottonwood Canyon, snow is still falling and it's sticking to the sides of the road. The roads themselves are a bit slick and slushy. Enjoy Utah's beautiful snow with winter tubing fun for the family at Soldier Hollow Nordic Center in Midway. Their 1,200-foot sliding lanes mean longer rides and more time to slide. Book now at UtahOlympicLegacy.org. Heather Kelly in the KSL Traffic Center.
Rain tapers off this afternoon. Partly cloudy tomorrow and Halloween with just a chance of showers. And right now, 43 degrees with showers around. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories. On KSL News Radio, Dave and Dujanovic have inside sources.
The Washington Post saying it will not be endorsing a candidate for president this election cycle. That announcement happened a couple of days ago, and since then we've learned through other media reporting that a couple 100,000 subscribers have since canceled their subscription. Some of them won't be canceled immediately because those subscriptions take a while to cycle through. There's been some resignations at the paper after this announcement was made, and now the owner of the paper, Jeff Bezos, that name may sound familiar to a lot of people. Yes, he is also the founder and former CEO, Boyd, of Amazon. He also, owns a space company called Blue Origin. He has released an opinion piece of his own, and it's called The Hard Truth. Americans Don't Trust the News Media, talking about why he and the paper have made this decision.
There's a few things that really stood out to me in this piece that he wrote, Boyd. He said right out of the gate that journalists, according to a recent Gallup poll, have managed to fall below Congress as the profession that is least trusted. And as a bunch of people that are in the business of journalism, this is an aha moment of something where we got to look ourselves in the mirror and not just sour grapes it, and say, no, you should trust me, but look at it and say, okay, well, what can we do better?
Yeah.
And I think that's the premise that he starts with. What were your thoughts when you saw him come out with this and as you read his reasoning?
Yeah, I think the reasoning is really sound, and I am one who has never believed in endorsements in any way, shape, or form. I don't think anybody should ever cast a vote because some celebrity or some newspaper or media outlet or other politician tells you should vote for someone. I just don't buy into that. It's always been a bad thing. I've advised those who are in all of those businesses not to give endorsements because it's not your job. Our job is not to get people to think like we think. Our job is to get people to think and think again and think again and stay curious in all of those spaces. And so I'm one who believes that this is a good choice and a good move. And here's where I think the real problem lies is that we have conflated everything. So there's pure journalism, there's opinion, and then there's editorial, which is kind of the voice of an organization. And all of those get conflated now. And for most consumers, they don't know which is which because most of them aren't going to the news site. They're getting a piece. They're getting a journalistic piece, a news piece in their social media feed. They're getting an opinion piece in their social media feed. And most of the time, and most people don't distinguish between any of those, and that's where it gets problematic.
But I will say, we mark it as opinion. And
Yes.
I've written opinion
No
pieces.
question.
We just talked about an opinion piece
Yeah.
you wrote that lives now on KSLNewsRadio.com. You've written opinion pieces for the Deseret News. So we do mark them as opinion.
Yes, no question, and that's important. And I think what you're saying, Debbie, as consumers, we need to make sure we're looking for those very markings. That's part of the strategy. So when we say you need to be a smart consumer of news, you need to make sure, is this an opinion piece? Is this an editorial? What is it that I'm consuming now? Because they are marked. They are definitely marked. But most of the time, most consumers are not looking at those, and they're just assuming it's all the same.
But you know where it's not marked is on national television. When you watch Fox, when you watch MSNBC, when you watch CNN, they will deliver a story, and then they have a panel of analysts, opinion folks that come in and they weave this in where they're telling the story and then they're opining on it. And that is the very blurred lines that you're talking about that I think sabotages really good and important reporting.
Yeah, and it undermines the trust. And I think that's the thing that Jeff Bezos was getting at, is we're undermining that confidence. And what that really gets to is the fact that then we don't trust anything. And so then things like endorsements just come across as, oh, well, you're in their pocket, or, oh, they're paying you off, or, oh, you're not an unbiased source anymore.
So from my read of this and what I've read about this is the draft was written by the editorial board at the Washington Post, and it was that they were going to endorse Kamala Harris for president. And then the decision was made not to make an endorsement. And this has all unfolded over the last couple of days. Now, I want to go back. Jeff Bezos, from my read, bought the newspaper, the Washington Post, more than a decade ago.
Yeah, 2013.
And I have read endorsements for candidates in Senate races put out by the Washington Post. But then they make the decision not to publish an endorsement or endorse a candidate for president. And some have questioned the timing of this decision, Boyd.
Yeah.
And Bezos writes in his own opinion piece, I also would like to be clear that no quid pro quo of any kind is at work here. Neither campaign nor candidate was consulted or informed at any level or in any way about this decision. It was made entirely internally. And then he talks about the fact that it is no secret that from time to time, his businesses have had to meet and have interactions with government officials for the various, things that they do on a day-to-day basis. But there was this concern about the timing of this decision. Not to endorse either candidate in what has become a very, very contentious race.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think the timing's I do think the timing's unfortunate, and I wish not only the Washington Post but the LA Times, of course, is also not going to endorse. USA Today announced also that they will not be endorsing in this presidential cycle, and so more are jumping on that wagon. I wish that would have happened in January. I think that would have been a much better process in terms of the result. I actually think this is a good thing because I think it makes it very difficult for anyone to look at things. Again, it's such a jaded society now with where we're getting all of our information, and so often we're inside a bubble, inside an echo chamber. And I actually thought, in a moment of great self-awareness, Jeff Bezos said, for the most part, we're talking to the elites, or we're talking to other news elites, or we're talking to ourselves. And I think that's the important thing, is if you want to have a credible conversation with the American people, you got to get back to principles, policies, outcomes, not wrapped up in personalities and endorsements, because that always undermines your ability to either take something on or to let something go. Everything gets viewed through that lens. And suddenly it's like, well, of course you're going to write that because, you endorse them. So you're not going to ask them a hard question. And so then you get very conflicted very fast.
One thing he said that stood out to me is he said, we must be accurate. He's speaking about the journalism side of the Washington Post. So he said, we must be accurate, but we must be believed to be accurate.
Yeah.
And he said what a presidential endorsement actually does is creates a perception of bias.
Yeah.
So it's not enough to just say, you know what, we do good work, we stand on our work, but we have to have you believe us.
That's right.
And that's a second component of it, is none of it matters if we don't believe that you're accurate.
Yeah, perception is reality and all that. And all of us know some extraordinary journalists that are doing the right work, doing it the right way. We also know journalists who are doing it maybe seeing themselves more not just as journalists to report the facts, but with an agenda or with a cause that they need to promote. I know people in the opinion side of space that are there because they have a very passionate belief that they've got to persuade people to believe a certain way. And I know people in that space who are going to actually be more like journalists and report the facts and give some commentary or perspective or some nuances to something. So there's space for all of that, but it has to come from that position of integrity and principle first, and then you can start building that trust that, hey, this is not, I can go to this source. Because if we lose that ability, it's one of the things I think we've lost most in the last decade or so, is kind of that shared truth space, where I can listen to Debbie and I say, you know what, Debbie did that right. I know she did the hard work. I know she asked the hard questions. I know she took every one of those possible storylines all the way to the ground. And so I can trust that. I have confidence in that. And if we lose that as a society, then when it comes to big issues that we do need to debate and discuss and disagree about, we lose that shared language and that shared trust of information. And then there's no way for us to get to that exploration to where we actually get to the better solutions.
Boyd, thank you so much. Boyd Matheson, Inside Sources today starts at 1.
Straight ahead, the opinion editor for the Deseret News, Jay Evenson, joining us with his analysis on newspapers endorsing candidates. He's up next.
Dave and Dujanovic.
A lot of us are filling our workdays with podcasts.
When you're working, go to KSLNewsRadio.com.
Click on Dave and Debbie's podcast and pick a topic and story length.
Podcast with Dave and Debbie. Then get to work with KSL News Radio.
Hey, pet parents. With Progressive's collision coverage, you get extra protection for your cat or dog, because there's nothing worse than seeing your pet hurt. Like when you see their face after accidentally stepping on their tail, and you say, "I'm so sorry, Mr. Pickles." But as you kiss his nose and rub his little belly welly, you know Mr. Pickles is thinking, "You betrayed me." Anywho, Progressive pays up to $1,000 in vet bills if your pet is injured in an auto accident. Learn more at Progressive.com and watch where you step. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Collision coverage subject to policy terms. Not available in all states.
If you love to travel, Capital One has a rewards credit card that's perfect for you. With Venture X, earn unlimited double miles on everything you buy and turn everyday purchases into extraordinary trips. Plus, receive premium travel benefits like access to over 1,300 airport lounges where you just check in and chill out. Open up a world of possibilities with Capital One. What's in your wallet?
Terms apply. Lounge access is subject to change. See CapitalOne.com for details.
What is even happening?
BYU takes the win.
What a great play call.
It's a sunshine celebration.
Congrats to our BYU Cougars. Tracking to the Big 12 championship game with win number 8. Listen to Cougar Sports Saturday this weekend from noon to 3 on your legacy home of the Cougars. KSL News Radio.
Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. Be advised, this is your opportunity to save up to 40 to 80% on a hot tub or swim spa. This weekend only, Friday through Sunday, Utah State Fair Park. 18-month interest-free financing. Our factories have demanded we sell 1,000 hot tubs and swim spas this weekend. Utah State Fair Park. Huge factory incentives, factory rebates, this weekend only. Utah State Fair Park. We can remove your old hot tub. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Hot tub starting at $2,999. Utah State Fair Park. Free delivery of your new hot tub. Just relax and enjoy. Utah State Fair Park. Friday, 2 p.m. to 8 p.m. Saturday, 10 a.m. to 8 p.m. Sunday, 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Free admission, free parking, free delivery. Utah State Fair Park. Call 833-SPA-SALE or visit HotTubAndSwimSpaSale.com.
Winter is coming, but there's still time to replace those drafty old windows before the cold comes and drives up your heating bill. Just make one call and take advantage of the Advanced Window Products Fall Special. $2,500 off on 10 windows or more, and that's $2,500 off their already low factory direct prices, because at Advanced Window Products, they're the factory. Your windows are built in their facility right here in Salt Lake City. You're buying local, and with their lifetime guarantee, you don't ever have to call some faraway state for help. Advanced Window Products is right here, proudly backing up their work. So make one call, save on your heating bill, and get a rebate from the energy companies. Advanced Window Products offers 0% financing. They can even give you amazing new windows with no money down. And don't forget, $2,500 off their factory direct prices, but you have to call now. Advanced Window Products, 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100, or go to advancedwindows.com.
An airliner heads for Alaska with 101 passengers and crew. Then, somewhere over the Gulf of Alaska, Flight 293 slams into the icy water below.
Even if all 4 engines quit, it just doesn't fall out of the sky.
No bodies were recovered. Loved ones had no closure and were left to wonder.
What happened to Flight 293?
Unsolved Histories, What Happened to Flight 293 is available now. Follow us at unsolvedhistoriespod.com or wherever you get your podcasts.
With the 3 things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, cracks were spotted during an inspection on a brand new bridge in West Jordan. That will delay its opening for months. Second, airlines will now have to issue cash refunds for flights that are canceled or significantly delayed. And third, about 400,000 Utahns have already cast their ballots in this election. 42 degrees right now with showers around. Back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We're continuing our conversation regarding the Washington Post's announcement that it would not be endorsing a presidential candidate. The announcement came just a few days ago. Surprised a lot of the staff members, it appears. Some have resigned. Some 200,000 people say they apparently have canceled their subscriptions to the Washington Post since the decision was announced. And Jeff Bezos, now the owner of the Washington Post, has published an opinion piece of his own about why they made the decision.
And part of this is especially close to me because Jay Evenson and I, we both sit on the combined KSL Deseret News editorial board, where we routinely, several times a month, will have people come in. They pitch a story or an angle or a cause that they're working on, and Jay, oftentimes, the Deseret News will write an article and address some of those topics and issues that are brought up. Here at KSL, I don't do that. I don't write my own opinion piece. I'm in there with the conversation. But what do you make of this with the Washington Post, one of the premier newspapers in the entire country, in the world, making this decision? And I think it's easy to kind of focus on the timing of it, of like, hey, this should have been done, a year ago, or not at the 11th hour. But fundamentally, as a newspaper man, having been a newspaper man for decades, what do you make of the idea of not endorsing or choosing not to endorse specific candidates?
It's been a question for many, many years among newspaper owners and newspaper professionals whether or not to endorse. But I think that the important thing is consistency, and I believe that if people really care about your product, they feel a sense of loyalty to it, and they expect consistency. So nobody felt the Washington Post was going to endorse Donald Trump, but those who subscribed to the paper really felt like they ought to endorse Kamala Harris. And so to say that endorsements don't really matter doesn't make sense when, as you say, about 200,000 people have canceled their subscriptions. They feel betrayed somewhat. Now, we at the Deseret News do not endorse candidates, and I think people expect that. People expect that that's not going to happen, but we do endorse issues. We write about issues all the time. And so we've written an editorial about how we recommend people vote on amendments B and C, and and the ZAP tax and the public safety bond. But there's a difference between issues and personalities, and we stay out of the personality business. And I think Mr. Bezos is right when he says that it does kind of give the sense that you're biased as a newspaper if you endorse individuals. And so we steer clear of that. We leave it up to our readers. We say, look, here are the issues that are important to us. You decide what's important to you, and you vote your conscience. We're not going to get in the way of that.
So 20 years ago, Dave found this article, and Desert News has some of the best archives around. You wrote this, Jay,
Yes.
right? 20 years ago. The publishing date is October 26, 2004.
Yep.
It dropped at 9:34 a.m. in the morning, and it's entitled "Why We Don't Endorse Candidates" by Desert News and Deseret Morning News editorial. So this is your work and the work of the editorial board, and walk us through at least part of that article and why the Deseret News was reaffirming its position not to endorse candidates even at that time 20 years ago.
I don't remember all the particulars of why we felt it was necessary to reinforce that, but I think our readers naturally have questions about why you do or don't, and our competitors at that time had started to endorse candidates, and so we were explaining why we didn't. I've already explained a little bit, I think, about how there's a line between issues and candidates and people, and the perception of bias, but there could also be a problem in endorsing people who are elected to office, and maybe they feel they have a special relationship with the newspaper because we endorsed them, and they expect some kind of special coverage in return. So it's kind of fraught with some of those problems.
Or on the flip side, if you didn't endorse a candidate who wins, now it almost feels like it's an antagonistic relationship.
Right, exactly, and so
and we've spoken to politicians in the past that don't differentiate the opinion section with the news section, and that is a nuance that I think the casual reader or listener or viewer may not totally understand, that the opinion section of the newspaper is different from the news section, and they have different editors, they have different purposes, and we often blend these things together, we conflate them when they're supposed to work completely autonomously.
Yes, we like to say there's a firewall between news and opinion, and we take that seriously. And we do occasionally invite reporters into our editorial board meetings when they're meeting with people, and that can result in news stories. But we never influence the coverage of an issue. We never talk to a reporter and say, you need to take this slant or that slant. But that perception is there. I remember over 50 years ago, I was a paper boy, or a news carrier, I guess we call it, for the Phoenix Gazette. And I remember one of my fellow carriers, about the same age, 12, 13, and he told me that, well, the Gazette, they support Barry Goldwater, and so you know where they're coming from in their news reporting. I was just a kid. I didn't even really know what he was talking about. But there's always been that perception that when you endorse a candidate that you're going to be more favorable toward that candidate.
And do you get asked a lot why the D News doesn't do endorsements or never has done endorsements, or does this not register with folks at all?
Frankly, I do not get asked that, and some people just assume because we're owned by the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints and they remain neutral in political races that we follow that. Frankly, I've never received any instruction from them one way or the other, and I've been doing this for 30 years. But I think it's a good practice to assume that people can make informed decisions, and they don't want us in the voting booth with them trying to tell them how to vote.
You wrote this 20 years ago. I thought it was a powerful line. It said, rightly or wrongly, studies have shown that readers assume a paper's endorsement clouds its reporting. What do you say to those folks?
Well, I think it doesn't at newspapers that endorse. At least I hope it doesn't. But I think that perception is there. And as Boyd was telling you in the last segment, perception is reality. I think that's a real concern. Mr. Bezos makes this argument that we don't matter as much as we used to, and it's true. I think there are a lot of reasons for that. There's a lot of chatter on social media and people nitpicking and people trying to destroy the credibility of legitimate news sites in favor of more biased news sites. And I think a lot of that kind of feeds into this and hurts our credibility. It's not just endorsements, but I don't think endorsements help in that fight.
Jay, thank you. The final little thought in the Bezos opinion piece, he says many people are turning off and turning into off-the-cuff podcasts, inaccurate social media posts, and other unverified news sources. And when people are moving that way, so much easier for the misinformation and the disinformation to slip in when you don't have that journalistic standard that you have to adhere to and that you're being held accountable for. So, Jay, thank you so much for joining us on that conversation.
Thanks, Jay. It's always great to have you in. Straight ahead, crimes happening on ballot boxes in Washington State and also in Oregon. Investigations now underway. People in the area taking steps to make sure their votes are cast and counted by actually going in person to vote after 400 plus ballots were destroyed in a fire. And Salt Lake County Clerk Lanny Chapman calling in earlier today. Of course, she's responsible for ballot counting here in the Salt Lake County area.
I think it's been said nationally, and I'll say it here. This is a direct attack on our democracy.
Straight ahead, what Chapman told us about how our ballots and ballot boxes are being protected here in Utah.
It's 11:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Dan Bomas. KSL's top local story this hour. Utahns have already cast 400,000 votes in this election. KSL News Radio's Michael Commit has that story.
The vast majority of these votes were cast using mail-in ballots, but this total is already nearly a third of the votes cast in Utah back in 2020. No matter who our next commander-in-chief is, though, state leaders hope Utahns will peacefully accept the results of the election. And before that day comes next Tuesday, you can learn more about how to vote at vote.utah.gov.
And right now, a week before Election Day, Utah's voter turnout overall sits at a little over 20%. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Former President Trump held a campaign event this morning at his home in Florida where he attacked the Harris campaign.
She's running on a campaign of demoralization and really a campaign of destruction. But really, perhaps more than anything else, it's a campaign of hate.
And Trump said there are bad things happening with early voting in Pennsylvania, but he didn't specify just what those were or offer any evidence. Your money at this moment, the Dow Jones average down on the day right now, 85 points, while the NASDAQ is up 127. And our KSL weather, look for the rain to taper off and the sun to come out a bit anyway by tomorrow. That's next. KSL News Time, 11:32.
You know what's great about KSL's traffic coverage? Trained traffic reporters and real listeners.
Trading information and making the commute safer and faster for everyone.
Every 10 minutes on the nines, we have you covered on KSL News Radio.
When I started Salt Lake City Fat Loss, it was to lose some fat. I kind of love that about the name, is it's very clear what it's trying to do. Salt Lake City Fat Loss helped me lose 57 pounds in 60 days. And it was tough. I'm not going to lie to you. It was tough, but it wasn't as difficult as I thought it was, or I expected it to be. I think so many times when we're thinking about joining a program, we just build up in our minds how difficult it's going to be. And I will tell you, yeah, it was tough, but it also taught me that I don't need the sugar like I thought I did. I don't have the cravings, because with Salt Lake City Fat Loss, they teach you how to eat healthy and how to keep it off as well. For about 2 months, that's when I was in the reduction phase. That's when I lost the 57 pounds. And then it was into maintenance. So you could start returning some of those things that you love, the sweet treats. You just can't overdo it. So if you're interested, go ahead and reach out to Salt Lake City Fat Loss by going to their website, slcfatloss.com. That's slcfatloss.com.
I'm Utah Tax Attorney Jordan Wilcox. Listen to what actual clients have had to say about working with us.
Hi, I'm Gary. I'm a building contractor. About a year prior to the market crashing, we had a big job that was unable to pay a bill of about 6 figures. We were still left with a very difficult situation with the IRS. Eventually, at the end of the day, I realized that the penalties and interest were growing faster than my ability to save to deal with it. I had talked to people and I felt that Jordan Wilcox represented best what I thought could help me, primarily because they were local, and I needed a bigger solution than I was coming up with. It takes too long to figure it out on your own.
Hi, I'm Jordan Wilcox. You need a tax attorney that's not afraid to fight for you. Visit taxhelput.com to schedule your free consultation.
I would recommend Jordan Wilcox. It feels very good to not have the IRS on your back.
That's taxhelput.com.
When it comes to your electrical system, do you know the warning signs to look for? What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Wilson with Any Hour Services, and it's okay if you don't know, but here are a few things that you might not even realize could be a sign of a bigger problem. Wall plates that are hot to the touch, discoloration around switches or outlets, if you hear crackling or popping or buzzing around switches or outlets, a breaker that trips a lot, switches that feel loose when you operate them, if your lights dim or flicker when a major appliance comes on, if your plugs fall out of the wall easily. You know, you're not supposed to have to bend the prongs out on a plug just to get it to stay in the wall. If you notice any of these things, you should consider having a licensed electrician check your system out. If you don't know anyone, Any Hour Services has put together a radio-only special for any homeowners listening. One of our licensed electricians will perform a comprehensive electrical inspection and give you a full written report for only $29. But you have to mention this ad when you call. To schedule your comprehensive electrical inspection by a licensed electrician for only $29, call Any Hour Services at 801-443-7300. That's 801-443-7300. Any Hour Services.
Traffic and weather together, brought to you by Sinclair's DinoPay app. Save up to 20 cents per gallon. And here's Ricky Meese.
We still have the cleanup of a crash in Davis County. It's on I-15, right about the Beck Street ramp. It is out of traffic on the left, so it's not going to cause you any major delays. But you are still dealing with a lot of weather in the valley, and these wet roads can be deceiving. You need to have lights and wipers on and make sure you slow down just a bit. Ricky Meese in the KSL Traffic Center.
And the rain will taper off this afternoon, then partly cloudy skies tomorrow and Halloween with just a chance of showers. Right now, 43 degrees with light rain. I'm Dan Bomas from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
Dave and Dujanovic, your morning companions for talk, analysis, and key perspectives on Utah's biggest stories on KSL News Radio.
Crimes against ballot boxes, very serious crimes in the state of Washington and also the state of Oregon, where ballots were in flames. Incendiary device was found on a ballot box. Had got this reaction from our very own Salt Lake County Clerk, Lanny Chapman. Lanny is, of course, over elections and ballot and vote counting here along the Wasatch Front, specifically in Salt Lake County. Here's what she said earlier when she called the show about these crimes.
I think it's been said nationally, and I'll say it here. This is a direct attack on our democracy. This is trying to dissuade people from having their voices heard in their local community, and that is not what we stand for.
Now, this fire affected several hundred ballots, and it is quite the sight. When you see the video of them opening up this ballot box and then using a shovel as smoke pours out of this box, using a shovel to pull out these charred remains of the ballot, I thought, this is so bad, because how many people will know that their ballot is never counted?
In a moment, we're going to speak live with the Lieutenant Governor's office on that point here, Dave, about how you can track your ballot locally. Get notified when it's been counted. We're going to get more information on that in just a few moments. But in the meantime, here's more from ABC News' Lionel Moise on the investigations in both the state of Washington and the state of Oregon.
Concern about ballot security with drop boxes set on fire in the Northwest. Officers in Vancouver, Washington, pulling out ballots still burning. Officials say hundreds were lost. And in nearby Portland, another fire.
Engine 21 respond to investigate an unknown flammable object being put inside of a drop box.
Officials credit fire suppressant in that box for saving 409 ballots. Only 3 were damaged.
Joining us right now from Cairo News Radio, Matt Markovich. Matt, can you give us an update? What have we learned?
Well, I just heard that report you just had, and it's pretty much nothing is new from yesterday afternoon. The FBI is still investigating. It's a federal crime to tamper with these ballot boxes, so that's why they're involved. And they do have a suspect vehicle, a Volvo that was seen by the Multnomah County ballot box, where most of those ballots were saved by that fire suppression system. But there's no leads on that, where that vehicle is or the name or anything connected to that vehicle. So basically we sit right now, this is the same as we did yesterday afternoon.
Okay, so Multnomah County is in Oregon, right? That's the Portland area, Matt?
Correct, yeah. The first incident happened there. Well, actually, I have to take that back. The first incident actually happened in Vancouver, Washington, which is right across the river from Portland, on October 8th. And a similar device, that's what investigators are saying, was placed on the outside of a ballot box there. It fell off. It went off, but it didn't damage the box. And at that time, there were no ballots in the box because it was too early to actually submit ballots. And then that similar device, which investigators say was attached to the outside of the box, went off early Monday morning in Portland first. And then just a couple hours later across the river, it went a similar device. That's why the investigators are connecting all these together because of the nature of the device. A similar device went off in the Vancouver ballot box, a totally different look of a box than the one in Oregon. And it also had a fire suppression system, but in that case, most of the ballots were destroyed and caught on fire. They haven't said how many, but they're suspecting it's a couple hundred. And people don't realize, I think, in our state, what this story brought about is these fire suppression systems. They look like a smoke alarm that's attached to a canister, similar to a fire extinguisher that's inside the ballot box, and it goes off similar to when a grease fire happens, as I'm being told, grease fire in a professional restaurant. It's automatic. It lets go of a chemical, not water, and it attempts to put out the flames. But the one in Vancouver, according to the director of elections for the state of Washington, the placement of that system may have been different from the one in Multnomah County in Portland, and that's why they had so much damage in the Vancouver ballot box.
Oh, that's so interesting because we just learned the same thing, that there was this fire suppression system here in Utah ballot boxes as well. We're speaking with Matt Markovich, who's with our sister station in Seattle with Cairo. And Matt, as you were describing this, when I go up to a ballot box, it has such a thin, small envelope, gap that you can drop it in. To your understanding, that these were attached to the outside,
correct?
And somehow, do they eat their way into the ballot box?
Well, when you just look at the video of these ballot boxes, it's clearly there was a hole on the outside, and somehow the flame got in through the hole from the outside. I can't speculate, and nor are investigators saying how the flames got into the box, but the incendiary devices that they're talking about were attached to the outside of the boxes, and either somehow it was drilled in, or I'm just speculating here. I can't say it, but clearly looking at the video of these boxes that were affected, there's a hole on the side of these boxes, and the investigators say that's from the in the area where the incendiary device was placed there.
Yeah.
And just one other note, what's interesting, when I started researching more about this story, as you know, may or may not know, Oregon and Washington are both mail-in ballots. So every ballot is mailed out. We had 5 million mailed out for the general election this time in the state of Washington. And 65% of those, as of this morning, of the ones that have been returned, are returned through ballot boxes, and 42% via mail. And the remainder was basically people dropping them off at elections offices and stuff like that. But 65% are using ballot boxes. And we even had one listener tell us, she made a big effort to go to a ballot box because she thought it would be safer than putting it in a mailbox.
Yeah, Matt, I think that, I literally walked my ballots inside the post office when I mailed them here for no other reason other than I just thought that would be more expedited. But I do wonder now what is happening in the Washington, if you happen to know, in the Oregon area, Matt, in terms of trying to figure out who these ballots belong to.
That's a great question. And so what they're telling people is, at least in the state of Washington, which I'm very familiar with, they have a tracking system. So you can go on the Secretary of State's website and you put in your name and address, and it'll show you whether or not the local county elections office has received your ballot. And if you haven't received your ballot, it doesn't show that they've received the ballot within 3 days or 4 days, whether you send it via mail or a drop box. Then you should contact the Secretary of State's office and ask for a replacement ballot. If that happens, the first ballot would be null and void, and the second ballot would be the actual one that's counted after that one is returned. So that's how it would work here in the state of Washington.
Matt Markovich, thank you for joining us, a reporter from Cairo News Radio. That's in Seattle, Washington, one of our sister stations. Thanks, Matt.
Speaking of tracking ballots, let's go live to the Lieutenant Governor's office next here in the state of Utah to talk about how easy it is to track your ballot to figure out exactly when your votes are counted.
Dave and Dujanovic.
You know KSL is the only news radio for your car, right?
The only news radio for your smart speaker.
Come here in the morning. It's the latest news and traffic. In the afternoon, news and updated weather.
We have you covered at KSL News Radio.
I'm excited to tell you guys about Macy's Harvest of Hope. Now through November 30th, you can make a donation to Macy's Harvest of Hope food drive to help support children who struggle with food insecurity in your neighborhoods. This might surprise you, but here in Utah, 317,000 people, or 1 in 11 individuals, are struggling on some level with food insecurity. And Macy's has a goal of raising $200,000 during the Harvest of Hope food drive to help children in Utah that are struggling to find some food. So there's several ways you can do it, but if you go into a Macy's, you can give a dollar amount donation. You can get food, peanut butter, mac and cheese, canned meats. Those are the things that the food pantries really need and have a great desire to have chili and canned fruits, other box meals. Harvest of Hope makes it easy to make those simple donations. All you have to do is go to Macys.com/online. That's a great way to donate online. That's Macys.com/online. Or you can go to a Macy's grocery store and participate in the Harvest of Hope.
This statement has not been evaluated by the FDA. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
I was always tired, with weekly bouts of indigestion. A friend asked me, when was the last time you did a detox? Never, I said. So she recommended Active Liver.
Our liver works hard every day to remove toxins from processed foods and unclean air and water. But too many toxins can overwhelm the liver, causing it to actually store toxins in our body fat. Low energy, brain fog, headaches, bloating, and skin irritation are all telltale signs that we need to act. Water or juice fast lasts can help, but often require days or weeks of feeling tired and sick. Thankfully, there's an easier way. Active Liver from New Nordic is a natural supplement that helps your liver effectively eliminate toxins on a daily basis, leaving you feeling better with more energy and less bloating.
Within a week of taking Active Liver, I was feeling better, and now I have more energy than I've had in years.
Available in both tablet or delicious gummies, you can find Active Liver online at Amazon or NewNordicUSA.com or in stores at your local CVS or Meijer grocery.
My name is Brian King, and I'm running to be your governor because Utah is headed in the wrong direction, and we can do so much better. If you're frustrated by politics today, if you feel like politicians aren't listening to you, if you're looking for something different, for a leader who prioritizes common sense and bipartisanship, you have a place with us in this campaign. Join us and vote for Brian King for governor by November 5th. For the better.
Paid for by Brian for Utah.
You do countless things without a second thought to protect your family and home. Every time you're in the car, you buckle your seatbelt. Before the next load of laundry, you remove the dryer lint. When you head out, you always lock your doors. And one simple task, done far less often, can protect your family and home this winter. Schedule a furnace inspection by a certified heating contractor to check for safety and efficiency. A friendly reminder from Enbridge Gas.
Hi, I'm Miley O'Keefe. In competitive gymnastics, flexibility and precision are crucial, and Les Olson IT knows how important flexibility and precision are to your business. It's why they deliver the very best IT security, office equipment, collaborative technology, and so much more. Let Les Olson IT's Perfect 10 service empower your business at lesolsonit.com.
Les Olson IT.
This is Derek Miller speaking on business. Since 2016, JC Pro Design has been helping businesses of all sizes stand out with high-quality promotional products. Owner Justin Leader joins us with more on how they're helping businesses in our state really thrive.
Utah has one of the fastest growing populations in the country, and with it, a strong and vibrant entrepreneurial spirit. Business in Utah is vast. It ranges from small mom and pop shops to billion-dollar tech firms and everything in between. It's one of the many things that makes Utah great. We have a vast array of businesses here for everyone. That's where we come in. At JC Pro Design, we specialize in helping businesses, both small and large, brand and market their businesses through high-quality promotional products. When I started JC Pro Design, we focused on a simple but powerful goal: to deliver the best final product and the best possible experience to our customers. We handle everything from custom screen printing, embroidery, and wide format printing, such as hoodies, hats, t-shirts, to banners and yard signs. In addition to promoting Utah businesses, we are passionate about working with nonprofits, so contact us today to get started. We'd love to meet you.
JC Pro Design is making an impact with creative branding solutions. Ready to elevate your business? Call or visit their website at jcprodesign.com to find out more. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
With the three things you need to know this hour, I'm Dan Bomas. First, the ballots are rolling in. 400,000 Utah voters have already sent theirs in or voted early in this election. Second, former President Trump held his campaign event this morning at his home in Mar-a-Lago in Florida. Third, the FBI now investigating the ballot box fires in Portland and Vancouver, Washington. 43 degrees with light rain in Salt Lake City. And back to Dave and Dujanovic on KSL News Radio.
Dave and Dujanovic.
We've been tracking the latest developments out of Portland and also out of Vancouver, the states of Oregon and Washington, where crimes against ballots are under investigation by federal authorities. Several hundred ballots burned. Incendiary devices found. It sounds like now we're learning that perhaps they were attached to the outside of these curbside ballot drop-off boxes. And we have also been talking here locally with our very own county clerk here in Salt Lake County, Lanny Chapman, about the measures that they've taken, and some we've just learned about for the first time, to make sure our ballot boxes are secure here.
Yeah, there was a very good description as we just went up to Seattle, Washington. Matt Markovich joined us from one of our sister stations, Cairo. and he described the fire suppression system, which I had no idea about. This is something we're just learning about. But in these ballot boxes, there's this fire suppression system. He described it kind of like a fire, how did he describe it? Like a smoke alarm that is in there. And if it does sense and trigger, then it releases a chemical that is supposed to suppress but not destroy all the ballots, but it will suppress. One of those went off, I believe it was in Portland, Oregon, and only 3 ballots were lost and hundreds were saved. The other fire suppression system didn't work in Washington, and they lost hundreds of ballots to fire.
The aha moment for us is we have those same fire suppression systems, according to Lanny Chapman of Salt Lake County Clerk, in the ballot boxes here in at least in Salt Lake County. She was talking about specifically in Salt Lake County. The other issue that we've talked to Chapman about, in a moment we're going to speak live with the Lieutenant Governor's office, is tracking your ballot. The state of Utah has a system in place, as do other states, that you can sign up for free alerts that your ballot gets tracked. If you are one of those people who are extremely concerned about your ballot and your vote being counted, you need to make sure that you're tracking your ballot. Don't complain about not being sure. There's actually something you can do about it. And I track my ballot, and in a matter of, I want to say, less than 2 days from mailing my ballot at the post office, I got a notification that my votes had already been counted.
You drop it off on a Monday, you should start getting notification by Tuesday. We are working diligently. My team is working 11-hour days to make sure that we are processing all of the 600,000+ active registered voters in Salt Lake County and making sure that their voices are heard safely, securely, accurately, and efficiently.
Joining us right now, State Elections Director Ryan Cowley. And Ryan, as we were talking about this story, I couldn't help but think, okay, so if you dropped it off and your ballot was destroyed, what would happen? What would the next step be here in Utah for us to see, well, was one of my ballots the one that was destroyed? Can you speak to that, what we could do here in Utah to see whether or not ours was counted?
Yeah, so there's a couple of things here. You talked about tracking your ballot, and if you go to vote.utah.gov, any voter can look up to see if their ballot was counted, or you can sign up. There's a red banner at the top that lets you track your ballot. You can sign up to get text and email notifications, and that will notify you when it's mailed out, which obviously we've passed that point. But then when it's returned, when it's counted, if it's challenged, those kind of things, you'll receive that push notification. And that's awesome because once you put that in the drop box, you can have the peace of mind once that's counted and be like, yep, my ballot's good to go. If there was something that happened and some of the ballots were destroyed, obviously the clerks will know when that was last collected. And so they can publicize, hey, at this location, if you put your ballot in from, this point in time to that point in time, then you'll need to be reissued a ballot. We have ways and processes that clerks can do that. So, there's a couple of fronts. You can have that peace of mind by signing up for the tracks, or the clerks can let people know the affected timeframes and locations.
Well, Ryan, I was just really impressed when I got my notification. I put my ballot in a U.S. Postal Service internal, post office box. And within a day and a half, I was notified that my ballot had been received and my votes had been counted. So it gave me that peace of mind. So if somebody's concerned about this, all they need to do is go to vote.utah.gov, sign up. It is so easy to sign up. You get email notifications, you get text notifications. You can set the times of when you want to be notified. Like I said at 7 a.m. That was a little early for y'all to notify me. But I was glad to see that. That's what I woke up to on a Saturday morning.
It's kind of exciting and cool, isn't it?
Yeah, I was excited. It did. It got me out of bed, and I was excited that I had done my civic duty. But also, if something were to happen to my ballot along the way, at least I would know, like, hey, I never got that notification.
Yeah, for sure. And it's a free service that we provide, and we encourage everybody to sign up for it.
Are there additional levels of security that you've considered besides just the fire suppression system? What else goes into, because I had never heard about the fire suppression system. I don't know if you're trying to keep that under wraps or top secret, but this is the first I had actually heard of that. Are there other security measures that help us, I guess, maybe trust that if someone wants to do harm or do something nefarious, that we've thought about that and protected against it?
Yeah, there are various different ways that, people have tried or we think people could try, and we do try to account for those. I really try to avoid talking about those in specifics because I don't like to give people ideas and those types of things, but there are several security features within those drop boxes that help prevent other types of things that people could do. Another thing that we do in Utah as well, we do have drop boxes in every city, and that's really convenient. But also on every Native American reservation in the state, so that convenience and proximity is great. But every one of those drop boxes that are outdoors, so if it's in a city hall, it's monitored there. But if they're outdoors, like the 24-hour drop boxes, they're also under video surveillance, which is a really nice feature because then if something does happen, then we're aware of it and can also trace back, the different events that led up to that, find out who did it, and then we do have that security feature as well.
Yeah, there is security or surveillance footage of this alleged, arson attack in Washington. So thank you, Ryan Calley, State Elections Director. We appreciate your time.
Lanny Chapman also telling us when she called the show earlier today that she's having the Salt Lake County Sheriff's deputies make sure they're picking up the ballots every single day, so ballots don't sit in those drop boxes for an inordinate amount of time. Lanny Chapman calling the show earlier today from the Salt Lake County Clerk's office saying that this is an attack against democracy. Maria Chaleos has much more on the developments and the investigation.